Well, everybody, welcome back. Let me bring the other guys back here, the rest of the crew, and we're gonna get started right away here. Okay. I thought I brought Mike back in. Hold on. There we go.
There he is.
Actually, I clicked on him before I clicked on you guys. So I mean, this whatever. We're all here, so that's all that matters. So, guys, did that intro play okay this time around?
Yeah, the first time it looked like it kind of stopped, and then it played through.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I was watching it through my phone because I'm on the laptop right now, and I was watching on my phone. The phone seemed like it did okay, but I couldn't really tell because it did freeze up on my end on the laptop.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I was kind of frozen up too. So
oh, okay. So because like I said, I did some test runs earlier, and it looked like it was working out fine. So I don't know what the issue was, but so I mean, as long as everyone saw it, that's fine. It should be all right from here on out. Once this gets played back after it's done, I think it actually when somebody watches this later, it plays out a lot smoother than what we're seeing it as. So restream. That's one thing I learned about restream. You might see some glitches or errors while we're recording and going live, but the playback is actually pretty smooth on the most part. It's not guaranteed, but it is compared to other platforms. Restream is a lot smoother, so that's why I love using Restream. So. On some rare occasions, I'll still use StreamYard to go live.
Mhm.
But the more I get used to the restream, everything about it seems so much better, and it's cheaper to use versus StreamYard. So
yeah.
yeah, StreamYard has gotten pretty ridiculous on the prices. So, but you got something like Restream, which is cheaper, it's got better quality, and I've had a lot of good positive feedback with that. So first of all, I do want to welcome everybody, the viewers, as they start to grow. If you guys are just tuning in, please feel free to share this around. We love an audience because the more people we have that interact on the live chat. If you have questions or anything you want to share, as I always say, we try our best to watch the live chat, I'll have that open here. Keep an eye on that. Let me actually go ahead and bring it up now, see if we have anyone jumping on it. Well, it hasn't updated on my end, so I usually will have people jumping on very soon. Again, I do ask if you want to help share this around. That's great, very much appreciated. Tonight we have a very special guest. He's no stranger to the Bigfoot world. We're going to learn a lot more about him. There's things that I found out that I didn't know he was involved in. We're going to get into that very shortly as well. Uh, Mike, thank you for agreeing to come on tonight. I really appreciate you doing this. So, yeah. So
Yeah,
I
thanks for
will
having me.
absolutely. I will say, don't worry. You can relax. This is not the banter with Richie show. So
Waiting for
no,
things to come at me. Right? Yeah.
no one's gonna snap at you or bite your head off. So I'm just joking. I love those guys. So
Yeah, you guys are a lot of fun.
Yeah, they
Um,
are.
Finally, Dan, we got to to get together like this, right? When I first started getting into this a few years ago, you were one of the first people I reached out to, and you were just open and you were welcoming, and you kind of helped me realize, like, wow, there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. There's networks, there's a lot of just people behind the scenes doing this and looking for Bigfoot, telling stories, talking about theories, and I want to thank you for being there when I needed a question answered or when I was going through something and could reach out and you were there. I want to thank you a lot. And I'm honored to be on and hanging out with you guys.
well, I mean, I do like to help people, but like I'm still learning too. I mean, I've been in, it's been going on 16 years now. And I mean, I feel like I personally have come a long ways, but every time I turn around, I'm picking up on something. I'm learning something new, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
Uh, and like I tell people, I mean, there's older people that are still learning. I mean, I don't know how old you are, Mike. I mean, but
I'll be 52 in a couple weeks. So I've been around the block, put it that way. But when it comes to this, with the cryptid and Bigfoot stuff, I'm new. I've always enjoyed the concept of Bigfoot, right? The idea, the hats, the mugs, right? All
oh
that.
yeah,
Here in New Hampshire, we got a lot of outdoor vacations and places where people go, and so you see that stuff all over the place, you know. Um, and my wife's only 5 foot. I'm 6'4", so to her, I am her Bigfoot, right? So
Wow, you are a giant compared to
yeah.
her.
So that kind of started, you know, kind of our jokes and in our love for being outdoors. You know, Bigfoot kind of embodied that. You know, so getting into more into it, you know, not only learning about just the theories, the connections that are people having and the stories. Now I'm like really focused on research, but um, what I've gotten to learn from the beginning, with just trying to figure out if this thing's real. What is this phenomena, right? Because from the outside looking in, it's like, are we looking for an ape? We looking for a spirit? We looking for an alien? We look. What are we looking for? What are people are talking about? And it's interesting, right? What we find and what rabbit holes and the people that we meet and the stories that we learn and the questions that we have, you know. So that's what keeps me going and all this stuff. And I am so intrigued by the mystery that every clue that I find or every answer that I think I get, it's like another, you know, 10, another dozen questions, you know what I mean? Another dozen. Um, so it's a learning, always going to be a learning process because we don't know where it starts and where it ends, right? That's kind of where, at least where I'm at out of it.
So
Absolutely.
you've not had an actual encounter yourself?
No, I have not had
We
a,
we haven't either. We haven't
okay,
either.
okay.
Daniel has.
I have had a UFO encounter, which I just released a little video on my Facebook thing just recently to kind of tell that story. And I've had some paranormal stuff happen to me
Yep.
since I was a kid. You know,
Yep.
I've always been kind of with the blinders on, blocking it out. But running through the woods as a kid all the time, you know, a lot of time was it imagining something's watching you, and then you realize, like, no, we have that sense to know when we're being watched or followed, you know, or something else. You're out there with something. Um, and you think back as a kid and like, whoa, I've had a lot of those moments. I've never, you know, remember seeing anything. It's not like a Bigfoot came to me in my dreams, like a recollection. You know, sometimes you'll have those moments. So for me, it's what haven't I been paying attention to? I've spent a lot of time in the woods and never quite had, you know, never had a Bigfoot encounter. And it's like, well, why? And the conclusions that I come up with, well, Mike, you weren't paying attention. You know what I mean? So um, going out and finding, reconnecting with the woods and the universe around us, right? As a good hunter, when you go out in the woods, you want to sit and just kind of be quiet and get the layout and kind of be one with what's going on out there before you start noticing the deer or the turkeys, whatever it is that you're, even squirrels, right? You go and squirrel hunting, you got to kind of blend in a little bit, or they know you're there. They're going to talk to each other and uh, and try to, you know, stay hidden. But once you start kind of tuning in, you know, to most of us, it's see, smell, taste, touch, and hear. That's our natural senses. That's what we connect with: the dirt, the smells of the soil, the way the wind blows, and all this, you know, the stuff around. And I think we all see things a little differently and outside of ourselves, starting to learn a little bit about some of this paranormal stuff, which I'm not sure about because I'm a naturalist. You know, I'm kind of looking for an ape. I'm looking for a manifestation, a real physical being creature. And that's what I know, right? If I was maybe a physicist or a geneticist or somebody who was an advanced string theory and all this stuff, I'd have maybe a different perspective on what the energy of Bigfoot is. But for me, I'm looking for something real. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, I will say this, based off of what you're saying, it's making me think that, you know, like, I don't know if I'm speaking for all of us or mainly just me, but like I said, for the longest time, I've considered, like, yeah, you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I'm looking for an ape, you know,
Hmm.
or of some sort. You know, I'm not saying I'm looking for a chimpanzee or a gorilla,
Right.
but you know, over the years, Like we were talking about this last night on the podcast we had last night, and I've said it before, but trying to keep an open mind on these other possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing you also mentioned, the paranormal. Now, you're into the whole Bigfoot research based off of your belief on what Bigfoot is, but are you like you're looking for these answers, but you're experiencing paranormal? Am I understanding that correct? Like,
so I have experienced paranormal. I don't like relate with it on a daily basis. I'll put it that way. I've had moments in my life where I saw a UFO, and there's been a few times where I know there was a presence in the room with me, and I couldn't, quite explain it. But I'm not the type of person who sees that stuff all the time or thinks about it.
right.
Other than like making connections with what it is that we don't know, right? And for me, is my personal reflection is like, okay, if I missed this, what else did I miss? You know what I mean? And then you start paying attention to the world around you. When you're in the parking lot of Walmart, you're actually kind of paying attention because you're paying attention, right? Where most people walk around with their, on their phone, just walking through, kind of going by life, going through life. But when you're paying attention and you're looking for stuff, especially specifically, those clues start popping up. So, today I was going over some footage of an area of interest in pretty much in my own backyard. We have this area here in southeastern New Hampshire, which is kind of bordered by these three state parks. One of them is Bear Brook State Park. It's 10,000 acres. To the west, to the north, there's Northwood Meadow State Park, and to the east is Pawtuckaway State Park. Now, these are all connected with green space, which is mostly trees, conservation lands, a lot of farms and ranches. A few residential neighborhoods have popped up, but it's probably 200 square miles, I think, of just woods and very limited population. So the more we kind of dig up stories of the area, we're finding more stories to the area, and we're finding stuff in the woods that may not be Bigfoot, but it's helping us kind of establish some sort of contrast. And Kelly Porter and I have been working closely together, going through the footage, going through these discussions, talking to people, and we think in our area have kind of narrowed down a few ideas. One of the things is tree structures. A lot of people are all into the tree structures. Some people don't want to talk about them. I love the idea of tree structures as hunting blinds and choke points created for hunting. If they're a creature that's hunting, it's looking to eat, right? So it's going to have to find those big reserves of food. I mean, I guess it can snack on berries and greens and roots and stuff throughout the season, but if it's going to stick around for the winter, or even if it's moving out of New England to move south toward Virginia, it's going to have to fatten up a little bit and take some reserves with it. So, wondering if they are actively deer hunting and getting out of here, so
we're basically in the same boat as you are when it comes to that. We met Daniel about 5 years ago and started getting, we've always had the interest in it. We both, growing up, her as a child and me growing up, we've had paranormal stuff happen. And a lot of it you can't write off of your imagination, so on and so forth. But when you get into the areas of when more than one people see it and or experience it, that's not your imagination. Mm-hmm. And we come into it with an analytical mind. I'm retired twice now. Melissa spent 3 years in the military. That's where I met her at. And then I retired from the Army in 2008. And then I retired from the Sheriff's Office here in Virginia in 2018. And 40 years of law enforcement, you stand back and look at things, you want to analyze it. You just don't take everything for granted as you see it, obviously. then we met Daniel. Now that I'm retired and stuff, we have more time to be able to get out and go on campouts throughout the year. And with that open mind, you stand back, you question. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. Everything's concrete. We have not come across that yet.
Right.
But that being said, from the paranormal side, I've always thought, I mean, we watched TV shows growing up too, from the paranormal to Bigfoot and, the different cryptids and stuff that's out there. I always thought it was fascinating. But from the flesh and blood side, that was my first approach and her first approach. And when we met Daniel. But with us, me and Melissa, the paranormal still in the back of our mind. Because we've seen shows where people give all these different theories and possibilities and stuff. And for about the first 3.5, 4 years, we've been out camping with Daniel. We go out primitive camp. We don't camp around where there's a bunch of people and stuff like that. You take in what you need and you bring it out when you leave. This last summer, and something else started happening besides doing research for Bigfoot. We go out for the camaraderie. We go out, be out in the woods. We joke around. We have fun. At the same time, we take our research seriously. But this past 2 campouts, we go a week at a time in May and September. We've had equipment failure, electronic equipment failure, batteries going dead, some needing recharge, some not needing recharge. A little while later, the batteries will be full again. We've caught and questioned stuff on audio. One of my recording devices that I let Melissa use one night when I stay back at base camp. We keep people back at base camp. One, to keep an eye on the stuff, because you never know when somebody might want to come around and steal stuff. But they got access to the vehicle. So the rest of us that are out there in the woods, if somebody would twist an ankle, we need a vehicle out there to bring them back. We have somebody at base camp that could come back and get them. But anyway, I stayed back one night and I let her have my recording device. Before she even went out, my DJI Action 4 turned on twice by itself. And it's not a button you just tap. You got to press it in with pretty good force and hold for about maybe a half a second before it activates. And she came to me both times it came on. And then shortly thereafter, when I was in my little tent, fixed a cup of coffee, my MP3 player was up on the table about 3 foot from me on the corner, and I seen the light come on. That came on by itself. That's never happened before. We've never had this happen before. Now we're questioning, besides the flesh and blood aspect, could there be another element involved that we're just now starting to experience? We don't know. Okay, we always question, we dissect everything, and we can't pin anything down at this point. We seen a light one night out in the woods about 10 o'clock at night, about 6-8 inches diameter, about 40 yards from us. It wasn't up in the air, wasn't in the trees. It was down towards the ground, about 40 yards away. And I don't know how long it was there before I seen it, but when I seen it, I had eyes on for about maybe 2 seconds. It's a white, pure white light. It wasn't emanating any light around the area. It wasn't throwing the light like a flashlight. I looked at it for about 2 seconds. I got Daniel's attention, and he looked over and seen it. About 2 seconds later, it sort of flared up and went out. We got our thermals out. We could not see any heat signatures left behind from animals or a person being there. There was nothing there, being in the woods, even with our thermals out. And we can't explain that. Now, that's my first experience of seeing a light like that. Daniel's seen some up in Pennsylvania, and then this one down here. So what is going on out there? I mean, it's just intriguing. If you don't get off the couch, you put that you can take your coffee cup and get off the couch and get out in the woods. People can be naysayers all they want until they get out there and relax, observe, see what happens. Your mind may change in time if you approach it, systematically and appropriately. But again, don't go down the rabbit hole to where every shadow you see or everything you hear is a Bigfoot or a ghost or whatever. Analyze it. So now, if I seen Daniel run and jump off of a cliff, I'm not going to run and jump off that cliff. I might run up and look over and see what he jumped for. Then I'm going to analyze. Do I want to do that? But Daniel's not like that either. I'm just picking on him right now. But he stays back. He questions everything. We come up, we find tree structures out there. One of them we can't explain. That's too much to go into right now. It just didn't make any sense of why that little thing was built. But, you know, you look for your tracks, you look for any kind of human activity or any other cryptid tracks or whatever, or somebody just messing with you. For me, if we're walking along a path that's normally traveled by other people, I find something 10 to 15 yards off the path and it looks like somebody may have put something there to resemble a structure. There's no way I can account for that being Bigfoot.
Right.
That's why we like to go off the beaten path where people normally will not go, which raises the odds of the possible, other than hunters, because, you know, it's a big hunting area. But then again, if you know how the hunters hunt in your area from turkey blinds and everything else, you put all that together.
Exactly. Yeah.
To come to a conclusion. Have you all experienced any kind of paranormal stuff?
So this area is loaded with paranormal activity. Just in general, a lot of history. For instance, there's been, you know, UFO sighting, you know, UFO sightings at one point in certain areas. There's been even B-52 crashes with folklore around it. A lot of old haunted cemeteries, a lot of old lost towns buried in the woods. So there's a lot of that stuff. And, you know, and it's really cool that you'd mentioned some of the stuff that you were going through, because more and more research and more people that I've been talking to that have been doing research have been talking about the same types of things that happen. Things that are outside of the Bigfoot or seemingly outside of Bigfoot, but they're happening at the same time. So you might hear tree knocks, but your phone's acting up and some paranormal stuff's kind of going on and some glitches. Orbs. Kelly Porter's found orbs around his yard, you know. So when, you know, we start putting this stuff together and we hear like these other theories about what it is, you know, it just is more questions. So one of the things I'm curious about is about the land itself. Sometimes these lands, you know, I'm sure down in Virginia in the mountains, you're going to have some mountains of, you know, quartz. We get a lot of quartz and granite up here, a lot of activity. And that's supposed to be like, you know, almost like a battery of energy in a way, right? You know, it's just these different minerals and these different ways, the wind and even the power lines. You know, we've talked about the power lines up here for some reason. A lot of UFO sightings over power lines. A lot of aircraft follow the power lines as well as the trails underneath. The deer are following. And we're wondering if, you know, Bigfoots and any other cryptid might be running loose through there too. So, you know, one of the questions I have is that not all connected through the same thread other than the land. You know what I mean? So maybe it's not a ghost that we're seeing, but it's the same reason ghosts are there is the same reason Bigfoot's there. Yeah. The same reason UFOs might be using it, because maybe they're flying over the land and seeing, you know, following a river. You know, that energy is going to follow the water. So that's an interesting that you bring it up, because a lot more people have been talking about stuff outside of the typical Bigfoot connection that's happening, and you can't deny it. You can't deny it.
Since you brought that up, obviously Virginia is loaded with history, back from Native Americans, obviously the Civil War, a lot of battles and stuff around here. Out where we primitive camp at, there's old foundations. From what we don't know, but when you're talking about the energy and the quartz and how water's, you know, conductive and everything else, when Daniel was, he can tell you more about it, but when he was out camping by himself a month and a half or so back, the same thing happened. Well, it's the same location. The location we're talking about, we've been to for the last 2 years. That general location, September 2024, a couple from Pennsylvania coming down. Pete and Cheryl. No. Not Pete. Craig and Cheryl. What's his last? Paulson. I don't know if you know them or not. Cheryl thought she'd seen a bear run across the road, but when we got to talking to her, I started asking her questions. Bears don't run on two legs. Coming down the ridge, across the road, and down to the ravine, down to the stream bed that's down there. And she's about maybe 35 yards from it, for where they parked the vehicle at the gate to walk to the lake. that unnerved her. I don't think it was the bear she seen, but it wasn't a Gila shooting a man because she would have known that. No, Paul didn't see it, but he got his kinetic protector, and just to be on the safe side in case it was a bear, he took it for her word it was a bear. Mm-hmm. They went on and made the trip to the lake. It's about a mile there and a mile back. Then they came back and told us about it. But again, that was that September 2024. Now getting to 2025, the week-long camping in May is when it's having that's when we seen the light. About 20 minutes before that in the field, one of our other counterparts, we left back by himself while me, Daniel, and another woman, the guy, went on a hike so we could show them the area after dark. He's seen two entities in the field, couldn't identify them. Mm-hmm. Tall grass, anywhere from 2 to 4 foot high. The eye shine, he's seen 2 sets of eye shine. We can't say what it was. We can't say what that was.
Right.
But that terrified him enough. He's a city boy from Richmond. I'm going to give him more credit to where he could tell something else.
Okay? He was our sacrifice, our experiment.
Yeah. That really unnerved him. He ran back to camp. Yeah.
And
we
didn't actually run. He just was walking really fast.
She's seen his light
and all you
see
him is that flashlight.
But it sort of stalked him a little bit. But anyway, he came back. She called us on the radio because we carry radios out there.
Right.
And we was coming back, and about 20, 25 minutes later, on our way back is when we seen that light. And that's the same general location of about 200 yards where Drew had his encounter to where we seen the light, and maybe a quarter mile from there is where Cheryl had her possible encounter with possibly Bigfoot. So all that general location is what we're looking at. Is what we're looking at too.
Yeah.
Is what we're looking at too. And then we have paranormal activity. Then the last camp out, we had the radio interference and stuff like that. When I was out with my Action 4 at night camping, I picked up some kind of electronic interference. My cameras have never done that before. Right. It sounded real faint. It got louder, and then it just cut off. I wanted to reduplicate that. The next night, I let Melissa use it. That's when it came on and off by itself a couple of times. Mm-hmm. They went out, and I'd be doggone. I've got it on the audio to where they were just above the old campsite that nobody was using, and you could barely hear it in the background. And I could boost it up to where it's the exact same sound, but it didn't last as long as when I picked it up. I picked it up for maybe 15, 20 seconds on average. Mm-hmm. Her pickup was about maybe 6 seconds. So it's the same frequency, same tone. Could have been a bug. I don't think so because I've listened to it. And we didn't hear nothing out there. Nobody else picked anything else up.
And what's interesting
loud, Mike, go ahead, Daniel.
No, I was just going to add to what you're saying. Now, you guys recall because you guys came up and visited me while I camped in that spot. And during my stay in that location, now I had my action camera. Now, our action cameras I think ours are pretty close to being the same. They're different models, different types, different brands, or whatever. But they're the same. They're not, they're not GoPro brands, but they work on. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mine, I love mine. I mean, like I said, I think mine does real good footage. It's 4K or whatever, I've experimented, goofed off with mine. But just for that very thought, that's what, from what David picked up in the area, I wanted to experiment. And I said, well, I need to start using this more. I don't use this enough. So, I mean, I played around. I recorded with it during the daytime because I had it attached to my backpack strap. I'm right there around that camp area. I mean, I went hiking up on the small ridge up across from me. Then I played around more with it at nighttime. And, I was like, there's something around this area that's messing with David's equipment. So I was like, after recording and capturing enough, footage on mine, I went through all mine. And, I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with the time of year. I don't know. I never picked up nothing odd off of mine.
Right. Yeah.
So I've been back. I've got many hours and days of recordings back here for several years now with that same camera. I've never picked up that type of frequency. Back to the energy part now. When you mention that, when Daniel went out by himself, he had a flashlight, his phone, and a headlamp. Yep. And he recorded it to where when he was out walking away from his camp, his handheld stopped working.
Yeah.
He kept pushing the button, They wasn't giving any bar reading as far as power.
And I was recording all this. I had this because I had my I didn't have my camcorder. I had my cell phone. You know, I was packing light. My camp. I was walked up. I was hanging out in the same general location where Dave was telling you about, where we had our, we seen that round ball of light that we can't explain. Well, again, I had my headlamp on, and then I had my handheld, my very bright flashlight. And for the record, I made note of this on the camera because I talked about this on when I got back to camp, I was doing a video blog, to add to my series that I'm working on. Well, here I am in that same general location, where that light, where we saw that strange light. I didn't realize it, because I'm looking around, I'm talking on camera, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden I noticed, what the heck? And I aim the camera, here's my phone, aim the camera down at what I'm trying to. This was a fully charged flashlight. I've only had it out there for maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Half hour at the most. So why is this not turning on? It's like it just stopped working from out of nowhere. And I was like, this don't make no sense. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, my headlamp's still working. If this stops working, I'm going to be out of light. I need to get back to camp.
Yeah.
So luckily, I wasn't entirely too far from camp. I was on foot, so I got back to camp. Well, I'm getting ready to hook up my power station, and maybe it's just dead, and maybe it needs to be charged for some oddball reason. But right before I plugged it up, I just so happened to push the button on it. Turns on. All 4 lights show that it's indicated that it's fully charged, like it was when I left. I said, what the heck's going on here? It works fine. No issues. Nothing whatsoever. So I said, okay, well, I don't have to plug it up because I kept using it since I've been back at camp. I've used it several times, looking around, scanning the area just around my campsite.
Sure.
Never had no issues with it. But up in the area where we had that strange light, there was apparently, as some people will probably indicate, like, okay, there's an energy source that's working that area. It's something strange.
Right.
Something's interfered with you, So I don't know. But that's what it boiled down to, where something killed the batteries there.
When Daniel told me that, and entertain this thought, on TV you see programs, these networks and stuff like that, to where batteries get drained totally.
Sure.
And now we've experienced that. Mm-hmm. They have to go back and recharge it. A couple of the radios during the time frame of Daniel's light, they would not operate. When I gave me an indicator that the batteries had any juice in them whatsoever. But then shortly thereafter, it comes back on. Mm-hmm. What I'm thinking is, what if something is drawing power to do what it needs to do, and then when it's done, you have control of that electronic piece of equipment again.
Like it needs that power to manifest itself.
They say ghosts
show itself to us.
They say ghosts like to draw power. I mean, I can't verify that. They like to draw power to manifest. Then
Sure,
they have to go
sure.
to batteries.
In the areas where we go, there is no power lines.
No power
There's
lines.
no electrical hookups. There's no water. The only water is the streams that you see back there.
But I just got to thinking, just something to entertain your thought with. What is something at momentary? It doesn't use everything, but it takes a little bit of power from something, and while it's using it, and when it's no longer in the area or whatever's going on, it dissipates or leaves, and now you got your regular equipment back. I mean, it's something to entertain when you're out there, when your batteries go dead. If you experience that at some time, do you have to go recharge them after that?
Yeah.
Or is it just temporary? And all of a sudden you got full use again.
Yeah. I mean, I've had headlamps where, I put in fresh batteries and then they just start flickering like they're going to go out. It's like, what the heck? And that's been in, warmer months too,
Same here.
I just kind of assumed, okay, it was a piece of crap, but now that
that's always a possibility too. We don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But based on what we experienced, it's not normal. We haven't experienced that before in any of the campouts until this last year.
Well, I think that's part about, what I'm finding out with this research, like all these anomalies start happening. It's like, oh crap, now we got to document stuff, right? And if we can see a pattern in things, and then we can start making a little more sense of it. Like, let me ask you guys something for your neck of the woods. Are the Bigfoot sightings still pretty consistent, like 7-8 feet tall? Are you getting reports of like smaller or
no, that's a good question.
Size?
Based off of the reports I've gathered over the years, and this would include my encounter in 2014, but other reports that I met up with eyewitnesses, the average height is 7 to 8 feet on average, but most of them indicate around the 7 feet mark. But
Okay.
you hear about a few 8-footers in the area. So throughout the state, that's east of where we camp at. Like you got the Skyline Drive, which is the Blue Ridge Mountains, and then we're in the Appalachian region. So you got the Allegheny Mountains just west of us. So yeah, I mean, just from the reports I've covered over the years, and I'm not saying there's been some. I think there was one report over in my main research area, Elkhorn Lake area, 6 foot, or maybe a little over 6 foot. I've heard from others, that have seen them there.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, 7 to 8 feet on average, I would say, is a good number. So safe number.
Because we get I got a report over the summer of a monkey sighting in a town which has a history of monkey sightings. It's known locally as the Danville Devil Monkey. In 2001, the fire chief, David Kimball, saw a monkey jump out of the woods, run alongside of his truck for a little bit, start back into the woods, and then as he took a turn down the next road, kind of did it again. And he reported it originally as being an 8-foot monkey. So word started kind of buzzing around town, and I guess other people started kind of coming out to talk about, oh yeah, I've heard some stuff and I've seen some stuff too. It ended up making the news, and everybody was following it. And it was in September of 2001. The animal control officer and the fire chief were going to go on the Today Show to do a morning bit on it, but the two planes crashed in the World Trade Center and kind of squashed that story. So people stopped talking about it. So then it started becoming legend because a lot of people were convinced it was a monkey, and it got kind of downgraded from an 8-foot ape man to like a lost pet or something that might have an exotic pet or something had gotten out and it was unclaimed. So there's a lot of people out trying to find it. Winter came and nobody really thought of it again. 2012, a woman reports seeing a monkey climb up a tree, and it made the newspaper. And just over the summer, I got a report through our Bigfoot group, New Hampshire Bigfoot Society, that a guy saw a monkey walk across the road. Same town, and it was the small town next to where I grew up. So I knew the woods, I knew the area. We started tracing back some of the other strange folklore and stories from around town, learning that there was a lot more paranormal activity. And in the 60s, there was a whole UFO flap, which was recorded in not only local history, but a book was written, and it made the little town, the town of Exeter is kind of famous for it, the UFO incident at Exeter, at least locally. And New Hampshire is also famous for the Betty and Barney Hill UFO abduction story. So there's a lot of connection through that stuff here. So as we're putting these stories together, we're also learning that not only does this weird stuff happen, but there was an incident where a circus was some circus animals were stolen from Boston or a zoo in Boston or something, and were put on a farm up here in Epping, New Hampshire. And the guy never paid his lease or rent and kind of let the place get run down a little bit, and some of the animals escaped. And we heard reports through the years of these exotic animals running through, people's backyards. And, those of us that never seen it, just like, you're just full of, you're just telling stories. But talking to local historians, it happened. There was an incident that had happened where some animals got loose. So then we start making the connection, like, okay, is this monkey still around? Is it been breeding? Is it what else is out here? We found a story of a B-52 crash into a swamp, and there was a legend of a hybrid creature on board, and we went down that rabbit hole doing some investigations, and that led us down more rabbit holes. So I'm kind of coming around full circle where maybe it's not so much that they're connected, but it's just the land and the times kind of connect these things. So I don't even know where to look. I don't even know how to differentiate it. Do you guys have any ideas where we start breaking that down and figuring out what's going on?
I don't. You said the monkey, the first reporting was 8 foot?
Yeah.
Where was this at again?
Danville, New Hampshire.
Danville, New Hampshire.
The other reportings, they give a height on them?
The other one, the report in 2012 was a 2-foot monkey.
Which would be more in line with the monkey.
Right. Whoops, my chair just dropped. And then the one that I got over the summer was it 3 to 4 feet?
Which would be in line with the monkey size.
Sure.
So yeah, I can't.
Well,
with too many disparities there. And plus the time frame too, you got to look at the population base if they were out there. I mean,
yeah.
If you don't have a population base for breeding for them to maintain, how would a monkey or two survive?
Right. That's the magic question. What are they eating? Where are they sleeping? Where are they hanging out? Why are these sightings so spread apart? Yeah. And that's when we start thinking about, okay, these old towns, much like in Virginia, we have these lost little neighborhoods that are just grown over now, right? These old stone foundation houses. I mean, my house that we're in now was built in 1890, and that's older than, half of the states, and not to mention, across the street was built in the late 1700s, and everything else was pretty much come and gone and been recycled. 1650 is when people really started coming to here in New Hampshire and kind of blowing up with the farms and and like you said, with Virginia, the ancient, Native American folklore that ties to the land itself. We have a lot of stories of bloody battles between the settlers and the natives, and there's nights where you can go out in the woods and you just get that haunting feeling where just like you don't belong. And
I mean, it sounds like Jeremiah Johnson may have been your neighbor growing up. Now look at it.
If you don't want to look into something like that, the only base I could even think of starting from is start looking to where there'll be a good, reliable food source.
Right.
And then from there, just branch out from there based on if you find anything at that given location. Otherwise, you might be, any of it, you're shooting in the dark. But for a starting point, if you can identify decent food sources, unless it's just all around, like a lot of deer hunters that go out and plot different types of plants to draw deer in. Is what I'm trying to say as far as that. I mean, there's food everywhere.
Sure.
I mean, that could be a starting point, I guess, if you wanted to go try to tackle that. But
I've gone down that rabbit hole a little bit, checking out foods that are available. For instance, the monkey from that story in Danville, it was reported and kind of believed to be a Humboldt's woolly monkey. The fire chief eventually went to the library, did some research, and he came back and said it wasn't an 8-foot monkey. It was this Humboldt's monkey. It's kind of like a howler monkey. Anyway, one of the foods that they eat is grapes. The grapes are a food that in captivity they're fed. A lot of other things like nuts and other fruits, apples and the such. And we do have a lot of crab apples just that are wild here in New Hampshire. We have a lot of river grapes, types of Concord grapes that are more wild native species that just grow everywhere. Especially if you live along a river or some wetlands, it's just abundance in grapes. One of the my favorite things to do in September is to just pick buckets of them, and I'll make like a juice or jelly or something out of them, or just, I'm a landscaper, so I'm outside all the time, pop a mouthful. We have a lot of other berries too that are quite plentiful. So throughout the year, there are resources available, but wintertime, especially if it was something that was not adapted to this area, is it going to get in the trash? Is it going to trying to find those farms and get into those grain bins? You know what I mean?
I think that's possible because, Daniel know more about this than I do, but we know that monkeys know how to make tools.
Sure.
To feed, feeding themselves and stuff like that, and to combat other monkeys and whatnot. But and based on that, I think they can adapt to finding other sources.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if they can make a tool over time, I think they can adapt to. Did Daniel know more about that than I would?
Well, both you and Mike both brought up the word to adapt. Adaptation. A lot of species have come to learn how to adapt. And adaptation is it's all part of survival. If you're going to survive, you have to adapt. It's just like the seasons. The 4 seasons. We got hot, cold, and sometimes some locations get severe cold weather. Look at Antarctica and way up north. Places that are cold where tropical, doesn't exist. There's been evidence of tropical plants and remains of tropical animals that live in these kind of environments that have been found in the northern continents of way up north, and there's been primates found in the deserts of Texas.
Sure.
All this has been proven, it's been found, it's been documented through I've done a lot of research on where you'll be surprised where you least expect a primate to be discovered or found.
Sure.
But again, I do believe adaptation is a big key role in evolution and surviving. So if I tell anybody, I would not underestimate. I don't care where the location is. It's too hot for this or it's too cold for that.
Yeah.
Now, don't underestimate it. If you have the will to survive, you're going to find a way to live. There's always a way to carry on. That's the way I look at it. But
so, how long has your group been together? How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've known Kelly Porter since we were kids, growing up, the same neighborhoods, the same family members, the same schools for a while. Got into the same trouble as young 20-something-year-olds, full of piss and vinegar. And then we both settled down and had our kids, and we kind of came back to this. Like I said, my wife and I were always into just kind of the Bigfoot theme stuff. We'd watch the shows, Expedition Bigfoot, Finding Bigfoot, and that type of stuff. Loved the UFO history and the conspiracy theory type stuff.
You should have listened to last night's podcast. That was pretty cool. It was very interesting.
Yeah. So Kelly had been into this since he was a kid. He had sightings when he was younger, a few different sightings, and it got him interested. And when we were kids running in the woods, we're building forts and stuff, or biking or doing whatever, he was convinced that he'd see something or was aware of, looking for tracks. That was a lot of it. I remember him trying to track down a Yeti or something. And, I was, 10, 11, he's a few years older than me. So, I was just kind of tagging along. So he's been doing this for a while. The group's been together for maybe 6 years on Facebook. Probably since 2023 is when we started working together, doing media and content, putting ourselves out there on social media and just interacting into the Bigfoot community as a whole. So, now we do festivals, we'll go to events. We love doing content, getting together, putting people together, filming. I spend a lot of time editing, putting storylines together, just trying to make sense of the evidence and kind of putting it in like a lot happens, as Dan, like through the year, different things get sent to you, different little bits of evidence, different discussions in a Facebook group. This gets debunked, that gets debunked. Somebody, there's so much stuff going on. It's like, for me, that's part of the story. And it's like, how do you kind of wrap that in? We're not only in the woods looking for Bigfoot or getting a call like, hey, something's on my land, I need you to check it out. To an elderly lady, something's out there, I don't know what it is, just make sure nothing's snooping around or there's nobody squatting on my land. So we get different calls for different things, and it's exciting, right? Where do you find yourself? Well, we found ourselves battling with Matt Moneymaker over a witness in Henniker, New Hampshire. So we're like, what the hell is this all about? And next thing we know, there's videos of this guy wielding guns, and like we were put into a situation where I was new to this and I had no clue what was going on and what was to come of this, So after the smoke kind of cleared, once again, I realized that there's something to this and I want to be part of it. Meeting great people like, Dan and now you guys just makes it, for me, I just want to keep going. The mystery is there. People are hearing stuff, seeing stuff, and it's changing their lives. I think for me, you talk to somebody like Richie, who's had encounters, and other people who've had encounters, and it changes their whole world perspective. I've met people who have had an encounter and they didn't come out for years later because they didn't know who to tell to. It was their reputation was on the line. Now they're older in life, or something happens where, they're ready to come out. And it keeps it going for me.
Yeah. You spend a lot of time camping, or most of it research, but from information you get, you just try to put dots together.
So a little bit of both. I mean, like I said, I haven't been camping as much, camping. I'll go with my wife. We'll do a couple nights here and there up in the White Mountains and stuff, but a lot of times it's her and I walking around, checking things out, going to different areas, scouting out. I'm outside all the time. I'm interacting with people all the time from all over New Hampshire, and I'm poking my head in the woods everywhere, right? So I'm always looking for different things, following up on leads. But one of the things that I need to do, and probably coming up shortly, probably when the weather gets a little warmer, is to go on those longer expeditions, right? Those overnight camps, those like you guys are talking about, the primitive camping, just you going out with whatever you can carry, and you're spending the night and and get out there in some of these locations that I've had sightings, and everything lines up, with the scouts. Is there food? Is there water? Is there shelter? Okay, let's drop the pin on the map and do that night expedition. So that's kind of the next part of my research. Because like I was saying earlier, I think we've narrowed down a good area focus with a history of sightings, a history of reports, and what's great is that when these reports come from people that don't know each other and different sources, it kind of gets exciting, because there's a lot of people out there that won't tell. And I'm sure you guys find that too. People don't want to talk about it. And you got to dig and dig and dig. And it takes a little bit. A couple months later, you're looking back at everything you have on a particular case, and you're like, is this a breakthrough, or is this a story to tell? So that's kind of
a lot of people will like that. I mean, you can't fault them for that. I mean, there's no right way or wrong way about how you do your research. Right. I mean, you do what you do, we do what we do, and if you can branch off and incorporate more, fantastic. But if not, what you're doing, putting pieces together, it's just another aspect of that.
Yeah.
But when I was in the sheriff's office, I couldn't really talk about it because, again, you talk about reputations. I wasn't comfortable doing that. We wasn't really getting into research. But when I got done with that career, we got into it. I posted on Facebook. Shortly after we met Daniel, he invited us camping for a week that first time, about 5 years ago. And I posted on Facebook what we were getting ready to get into. I knew I was going to get naysayers and laughs and stuff. I got no feelings to hurt, okay? Yep. I got no ego to bruise, okay? Yep. My 2 careers are done. I'm going to enjoy my life and stuff I've always been interested in. But when 2 people from the sheriff's office, they did not comment in the comments section on my post. They sent me PMs to tell me about what they had encountered privately with me, which in my mind leads more credence to what's going on.
Yes. Yeah.
And one of them specifically said he's a bear hunter. He knows what bears look like. And his wife says she and him was driving home out Folks Run towards the area where we camp at. And it was early evening. They crossed the bridge out there. And just as they come around the bend, they seen something large on two legs, just finishing crossing the road, entering the woodline. They don't want to come out and say Bigfoot. They just want to tell me the story. Now, you put two and two together as far as that. But they said, we know it wasn't a bear because they know what bears look like. We have a lot of black bear. I mean, black bear everywhere. You may have it up in your area.
David, that was me coming from my girlfriend's house.
Is that the beer can found on one side of the road out there when I went and looked?
Dan doing the walk of shame, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. People, from time to time, they'll come out. And to me, when they do that, it puts more credence on the possibility of things going on, especially when you experience them. You get stuff on audio, video, like we've been getting here recently. Nothing on the cryptid aspect. From the paranormal side, I mean, it could all be linked into the paranormal side if you really want to think about it.
Yeah.
It just raises more questions. You just want to get out there more and more and more. Yeah. And
well, that's the excitement.
Never find any answers, but it's fun looking.
Yeah, that's the fun is finding something weird that happens. Something that's unique, something that you wouldn't have noticed before. Yeah.
Especially when you can share it with somebody else at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
a lot of stories are, people like to make up stuff as they go. We know that,
Yeah. Yeah. You were talking about, being a cop in the sheriff's department. And it's the first responders that really kind of got me into a lot of this. I went to Whitehall, New York, and met and talked to Brian Goslin, who was the officer up there who came face to face with the Bigfoot.
Yeah. His wife reached out to me. They were trying to come down to be at one of my events, and they couldn't make it one year.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy that you wouldn't take for making stuff up. He just came across as super genuine and super consistent with what he was doing and what he was saying. And the more I learned about the other stories in Whitehall with the cops coming forward and some of them not coming forward too, right? There was that contrast of these cops saying, yeah, something came across on two legs, and the other ones were like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it, leave my name out of it. I think there's still a few that refuse to put their names out there. But if you know anything about Whitehall, now it's become just a place where people get together every year. They have the calling contest, and more and more people come out, especially from the area. If anytime I talk to anybody from that neck of the woods, if they haven't had some sort of encounter themselves, they know somebody that did.
It's not like it's becoming mainstream. I don't know what it is. This last camp out we had, me and Daniel weren't able to talk to the guy, but they're out there where we're at, a few miles away. They're actually doing some logging out there. They're taking down old trees for whatever reason, stuff like that, maybe planting new trees. But one morning,
by our campsite,
a logger was coming out, and he had seen us out there previously, and we was already out there for about maybe half a week during this time frame. He stopped to tell a story to Drew, and I think Melissa caught part of it. For someone to be compelled to stop, because Daniel had the ECBRO sign out there. It didn't say Bigfoot, but he put two and two together, that we're up to something out there.
Yeah, it had the Bigfoot silhouette on it. Because for those who were coming to the area, I want them to know where our campsite was.
He stopped to tell a story, and I wish Daniel could have talked to him. But again, to me, that leads credence to it. And then was it 2024? Dave, I think his name was, that came from Briery Branch to talk to you, Daniel.
Oh, David Huff. Yeah,
the one
David
that
Huff
came from West Virginia. Now, all these mountains, they all connect.
They all, We're in like a triangle. I call it.
But he made a trip over here just to talk to Daniel. He was really unnerved about something wasn't right when they were camping, and they've camped there all their life. And one of the campers there was a retired cop that never believed in the stuff. So whatever happened to him and the group camping, the retired cop is now more intrigued to get out there more to try to find and research what happened. I don't remember everything. Daniel talked to the guy more than I did. He can tell you more about it. But when people come out like that and they make a trip to you, they're not going to waste their time to make a bullcrap story. And you could tell he was sincere just in his voice fluctuation and how he relayed the story. Like, he could not explain it. He did the best he could, but he didn't know what he was experiencing.
Yeah.
Daniel could elaborate on that more. I'll get me some more coffee right quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, the location, the general location where we camp at. Now, prior to me camping there, I've heard stories firsthand from hunters, who, David brought up talking about bear hunters. Well, there's a group of bear hunters that I learned about. People that hunt bears know how to identify bears, right? For them to come forward and say, well, they had their dogs with them and they're in the woods and here's something standing on 2 feet, trying to, like, watching them, and it's pretty obvious coming from back and forth in between a tree. I mean, is the bear going to stand there? It's like, okay, send your dogs after me, come get me. No, they're seeing something completely different. They know it's not a bear, and you were talking about, the police officer up in Whitehall. That took place. This sighting was, if I'm not mistaken, back in 1976. If I'm not, not mistaken. So, but here in Virginia, I know there's two different individuals that have. One I've actually had been messaged with. He contacted me directly. He's retired from the Virginia Game Department. The Wildlife Game Department. He had a couple things he shared briefly with me, and he wants to get in person with me. And I wish he reached out to me again because I kind of lost contact on who he was. But he had stuff that was related to Bigfoot that they had on record that they kept on a hush because they didn't want to talk about it too much.
Yeah.
Among other things like the mountain lions that they say they don't exist here. He had information about that. Yeah. I had one individual. He's actually still on my Facebook page. I need to reach out to him, talk to him. I'm not going to mention his name. I know his name right off the top of my head, but he, as far as I know, he hasn't quite retired yet. But on the mountains, on the east side of the mountain, he was on night patrol, and he told me that he saw a Bigfoot patrolling one night, and he started clear as could be. He was on night patrol, and again, he's a police officer in Greene County, Virginia. I'll mention that much. And these people have seen things. I find this stuff incredible for bear hunters, law enforcement. To me, these are credible sources. I don't see bear hunters and hunters in general, wanting to, jeopardize their,
right.
It just doesn't make sense why they would make stuff up.
Well, that's the thing too. I hear stories. Was it last fall? I got a story from a guy who was a hunter up in Littleton, New Hampshire, up near Littleton, New Hampshire. So he's a bow hunter up in his tree stand. He had a sidearm on him. He's up in his tree. It's starting to get a little dark. He notices the wildlife kind of scurry away and kind of take off. And so he figured something was in the area, went kind of quiet. Excuse me. So his, senses went up and he sees a figure hiding behind a tree. Tall, about 7 feet, broad shoulders, thin waist, kind of peeking around a tree. And he called out to it thinking it was a hunter, and no response. So he started getting a little, sketched out. So he said, "Hey, I got a gun. I got a pistol on me. So don't try anything." And no response. And then as it got darker, he could sense this thing going around him, kind of around his tree stand. And it wasn't until he pulled out his flashlight and shined on it that the thing took away, the thing ran away. And as he got down, he wasn't sure if when his feet hit the ground, whether or not that thing was coming after him. So he felt a presence that he felt threatened. He felt that even though he was armed, he was still not in the right spot, in a safe spot. As it was, he said that he hadn't returned back, to that area for a few days, and it was a regular hunting ground of his. But when he did, it was broad daylight, and once again, he had a pistol on him. But he said he walked in a few yards and just felt a sense of like, yeah, I got to get out of here. So he didn't want to come forward. He didn't want his name out in the public. He just wanted to learn more about creatures. He was looking at Dogman, the Woods Devil legends, so something's going on that's scaring the shit out of people. And these are people that don't typically get scared. Ernie Davio, I'm not sure if you know who he is, have met him. He would be a great guy to talk to. He had an encounter out near Cobble Mountain in Western Massachusetts. We had a festival out there, an event over there earlier in the summer. He had an encounter where he was hunting out by himself, and he stumbled across a Sasquatch hunting party, and it used sign language to communicate with him.
Oh, wow.
And he's lived that moment over and over again. And it wasn't for a number of years that he even came out with it. He was a veteran, trained in martial arts. He just had a sense of awareness about him. And he said he thinks just staying calm and kind of living in that moment, trying to remember everything that he could, kind of helped him deal with it later on. And then, coming out and being able to talk to it, talk about it. It was almost, he presented it more as a testimonial, right? As somebody who's, found salvation through Jesus is, giving their testimonial. For him is like, I'm not a witness, this wasn't my, it was a testimony of acknowledgement that these things do exist. And he believes they're forest people. He's got a lot of Native American background, and he believes that, these things are not necessarily beasts, but a type of lost people that are paying attention to us, and we're not always paying attention to them. And he thinks that's why, they're not always present.
Yeah,
you can't dismiss history like that. That's right. You can't, because you can't say hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people over time are loonies.
Right.
Something's been going on. It's been transpiring. There's got to be an element of truth behind at least a portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
Some things can be blown out of proportion. We all know that, but something is, well, especially after what we've been experiencing. My mind's open to anything.
Right. Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that situation there. Who that individual is now? Tim and Eric Vogel may be familiar with that.
Yeah.
Because we just had Tim on here.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago, so which has been awesome. He shared a lot of great information with us.
I will send you maybe some contact information. Maybe you can reach out to him. He would be great. He's great to talk to. Very informative. He's got a good. He's got a cool perspective. We spent some time at the Cobble Mountain Festival, and one of my videos. Hopefully, I can get it out sooner than later, because I tend to take the whole year, take all the events, and then I sit down and put it together, right? So instead of putting out stuff after every event, I kind of take the whole thing and then take a step back. And one of the coolest moments of the whole season was Ernie playing his flute on the tailgate of his truck while we're out in the woods. And it's just this cool, just calm, serene moment. And he was trying to call him in. And we had some activity. With some owl calls. Have you guys had any instance with owl calls? What are your thoughts on owls mimicking, Bigfoot's mimicking the owls or other birds?
Yeah, we've heard
that a lot of the owl stuff has been happening, and I know there's a lot of barred owls that have kind of come back and really kind of had a population explosion, or it seems, but there's some stuff that just sounds off.
Yeah, well,
I've not heard enough owl calls myself. I mean, I've heard them over the years, but to be able to make a distinction as far as what would be normal and what isn't for the most part. We was camping out at Elkhorn Lake one time, and we thought we heard monkey chatter. We actually got it on audio, but after the camp out, when I got home, I got to looking at owl calls because Daniel says that might be what it is. And what was it, a barred owl? Daniel?
Barred owl, yeah.
The one that screeched was a barred owl.
Barred owl, yeah. Barred owls are very common in the Elkhorn Lake area.
It sounds
we got a lot of them too.
Yeah, it sounded like it sounded about like, if not what it was that we heard in the woods. And now, I'm not an expert to be able to heard enough of them to say that's normal or not normal for that. I mean, I can admit that.
But now, when you hear it in the way it echoes in the woods, a lot of times it's different than a recording. So you're hearing it in the distance or hearing a couple of them. And if you're not prepared for it and it sounds a little off, it's a thrill, put it that way, to come.
I need to hear more of them, get more recordings to be able to make.
Well, that's it.
Unless it's just obvious. I'm sure at some point it would be obvious, but
and I've got a good handful of calls that I've gotten over the last year that I'm going to work on a project on putting all those together and start breaking them down. So,
yeah. Now I've heard so many other people, well, I shouldn't say so many other people. There's been a few other people that, they hear these sounds that sound like owls, but they make these claims without no evidence that, that's Bigfoot imitating an owl. Right. But from my experiences from hearing owls, some of them, unless they're very close, you can hear the barred owl. They like to communicate sometimes back and forth.
Yeah.
However, you're going to hear them on the ridge lines. You're going to hear them vocalizing from different locations. And David knows the location. David and Melissa know the location of the Elkhorn Lake. There's a lot of hills and ridges around there, and there's a lot of the hollows that cut through. And I don't care if it's an owl, a coyote. Both owls and coyotes and other species of animals, they have several different tones that we're not always familiar with. We don't hear them on a normal basis.
Bobcat, the way they cry. Yep.
I've had them scream off very close to me, and if you're not expecting it, it'll make your hair on the back of your neck stand up. Mm-hmm. But having all these ridges and these hills all around you, sometimes some of the sounds will sound very bassy. Like there's instead of hearing the common sounds that we're familiar with when it comes to like a barred owl, for example, it'll sound like it's like almost like saying like a ooh versus it sounds deeper. It sounds
the
heavier.
Resonance, the way it bounces off the trees and
exactly. So a lot of people are not familiar with that, and they get excited, and that's for a lot of the people that have Bigfoot on the brain. They're like, "Oh, that's a Bigfoot," I was like, "Well, we wanted to be, but you got to be logical. You got to kind of like come down back to earth,
And there's some you just don't know. I mean, you hear the sound, you don't know. I was pulling up video from our last camp out when Melissa went out with Daniel and Drew, and one point Daniel says, "Did you hear that?" I didn't hear nothing at the time on the video at the time, and I think Drew said, "Yeah, he might have heard it," but then I backed it up, and then 8 times the audio, and off in the distance you could hear a ooh.
Yeah.
It was kind of strange, and they actually caught that on one of the recordings on my DJI Action 4. But you have to listen for it, but it was there. That didn't sound like no owl to me.
Yeah.
But then again, you got to look at the possible. I mean,
yeah, right.
I want proof.
Well, that's it. I mean, you find all this cool stuff, and it's like, what is it?
It just don't sound right,
Yeah.
Something about it. I mean, some things are going to be obvious, and then there's going to be those that just don't. That's different,
Yeah, you got to scratch your head and question some of it, which that's the mystery. Having the mystery behind a lot of this, that's what makes it exciting. Right. I mean, we're not going to always be able to identify something down to the T,
right?
But that's where it's exciting. It's like, okay, it could be this, but then we got to keep an open mind. It could be the possibility of something entirely different.
Yeah.
So,
Because
or Dog Man. Don't forget Dog Man, Daniel. You never know.
My guy.
Again,
Hey.
my mind's open to anything out there. I mean,
we're learning all the time.
I don't know why I keep bringing this up. He's got to admit, when we first met him, his mind was focused on Bigfoot. Bigfoot. The more we got with him, the more we got to camping together, and the stuff that's happened here in the last couple of campouts. Bigfoot, now he's branching over into the paranormal part of it because there's answers. There's things happening we don't have answers for. Right. Could they tie together? We don't know, but we're out there looking. And if people can be focused on one thing, the things happen, then your mind changes.
Right. Right. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. I have my roots. I know what my strength is. And if that's, tracking wild animals or reading the land, seeing what's available, I'm a landscaper. I have a horticulture background. I wanted, to be on Naked and Afraid one day, thinking I had what it took to last, 3 weeks naked in the middle of nowhere. But
we do that at our camp out. Come on down.
I got it.
No, we don't, people. No, we don't. No.
Nope, not happening.
No.
But
you should see David in a Speedo.
I got a reputation.
Now he just wears the pink apron out there. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say, as we see on the news, the UFO and some of this alien stuff is probably more real than we ever thought it was, right? So we're kind of at this point where we're learning about so many things that we never thought existed. We're finding more connections with even spirituality, right? In the 80s, everybody wrote off religion. It was all this negative, and people returning to spirituality started to turn back to, that connection. And I think the more we're aware of it, we realize it is a part of us. But these UFO things are, like I said, we found them in our own local history, where it's recorded in newspapers, and people have no explanations for this stuff. And when we're talking about the technologies and these crash sites that the government have covered up for years, and then we start learning or start talking about why, if Bigfoot was, is discovered, why that's a detriment to how we do things right now. It's an endangered species. We're talking about shutting lands down.
Yeah.
So then that opens up doors on, okay, is there a government program to move them out? Is it corporate, lumber? So there's all these stories in, I love it. I'm going to go down every rabbit hole that I possibly can, just because I got nothing better to do. But if it helps me find that magic spot where we can get something cool and find out, then that's kind of what keeps me going with it.
Well, when it gets real quick on the UFO part, we know what the history and everything is with all that stuff, whatnot, but I can't see Congress wasting their time and money having hearings here in the last couple of years with pilots of the military and stuff, the footage that they have got, to spend their time wasting on that money and time. Okay. And everybody's saying, a lot of the experts are saying, they're bringing this stuff up now in preparation for a soft exposure, a soft exposure on that. Yeah. Because there's a movie coming out this summer, a new one. I can't think of the name of it. I think Steven Spielberg might be making another one to have even more stuff. And they're saying that's going to be tying into it, to where one day somebody might be standing in front of a podium to tell people we're not alone. Right. Why are they doing it? Entertainment? Yeah. I don't think so.
There's enough to worry about in the world as it is. Never mind, extra stuff. The technology that we have now and how fast we've developed that, just over the last 100 years, right? Where a little over 100 years ago, the aircraft, the airplane was finally invented, and realized that you can make this thing, mass produce it, and dominate the world and connect the world, with airplanes. And if you look or follow any military technology, a lot of the software and AI stuff that's more recent. But if you look at the hard physical development of things like, say, the B-52, some of that, or say, some of the most up-to-date missile systems with the guidance and aircraft. Take the F-15, B-52. Both of those aircraft. The B-52 is still used, and it's 75 years old. That design hasn't changed. It still works flawlessly. The F-15 is probably the most dominant fighter multi-role aircraft that was ever created, and the things that thing could do. And when you start talking about F-22s and some of this, these generation 6 fighter craft or bombers, where they can network with drone swarms. Just a couple years ago, following this, it's like, what was a drone swarm? What do you mean by drone swarms? Well, much like a bee swarm, but with all drones. Every one of them has individual artificial intelligence and pre-programming into it. The Chinese use it to make these big, sky shows, right? These light shows with these drones.
Well, they do that here in the U.S. now too.
Well, yeah,
we're my hometown in Kentucky, my hometown. My brother sent me a video this past 4th of July. Thousands of them up there the Ohio River, just making all kinds of designs and stuff.
So the technology's there, and it's only been since we've been able to master flight, and so how do we get there so quick? Was it just the invention of petroleum and, this energy, or was it always there and we've had it for centuries, this information? Some people speculate that a lot of this alien technology has been around since the Egyptians, but we haven't been able to actually create it and use it until now, so.
And you talk about AI. If you look into the history of AI, it's actually been around since the 60s and 70s, but look at where it's advanced and where it's used by the public now. So,
right.
It's so much has come a long ways.
Well, as a consumer, we're always going to be behind that curve.
Yep.
It was in the late 80s and early 90s that the United States Army started using GPS. I was in during from 91 to 95, and there was a lot of stuff that now we take for granted. The GPS, the global positioning, texting. That was a top. I had a security clearance to operate that stuff, where you could transmit a text message, through frequency hopping or controlled channels. Now we can do that on our phone. Now everybody has that. Teenagers have that. We have more information now at our fingertips than generals did, 75 years ago. It's amazing.
The Apollo missions flew on no more power than what the earlier cell phones used, and now look what we got.
Yeah. I remember holding up, these big dinner plate size things, trying to get the satellites to line up. And but
technology can only be released when we understand it. It ain't no different than back in the day when they were taken. I was taken. He said taken. I don't know if he just typed that. Women at this cross for being witches, for knowing about medicine.
Sure.
Mistaken. Okay, I think you meant mistaken.
Yeah. So natural herbs and plants that we see. Actually, a lot of weeds that we pull out of our garden all the time.
I ain't got no backyard left.
A lot of them are medicinal plants.
It does. It works.
A way of giving you what you need. I have a bunch of mother's wort growing outside. Well, not now, it's cold, but throughout the summer, I got tons of mullein. Just all kinds of stuff that I can't even, label right now.
Violets, the purple violets.
Yep, everything.
plantain.
And it makes you stop and think, we do actually have everything we need right outside, but we don't look for it. And we're not, most people,
money based.
Yeah.
They keep you sick so they can make money. They don't want those traditional herbs and stuff.
Well, we used to get milk and eggs from the local dairy guy, right? I remember as a kid still having milk delivered at the doorstep.
Yeah.
And
we used to go to the local dairy farm to get our milk and eggs.
Yeah. Or my dad would grab up, bring cases of it home on Friday after work or whatever you do, but now, you have to go to the grocery store, which outsources everything. I mean, if you want blueberries in January, you're going to get them now, but they're made in, they're grown in Chile, right? The opposite side of the world. So I guess I remember growing up only having blueberries a certain time of the year, and that's when you went out and picked them. We had tons of blueberry bushes all throughout, New England. And
plus they're loaded with a bunch of preservatives too, where they last longer. I remember as a kid, you went and buy a loaf of bread. You had to eat that loaf of bread within 2 or 3 days before it starts to mold.
Yeah.
I got a loaf of bread sitting up there now. It's been up there for about a month and a half. It's still good.
Yeah, you buy apples at Walmart, they're gonna stay. It's gonna stick around a while.
Yeah.
so David's telling us that they don't go. His wife don't go shopping no more. I
look at it as penicillin.
I've had many scary nights where I sat down at the kitchen table to start to eat supper, and after about 5 minutes each, she'd look over at me and say, "Well, what do you think?" My hair goes over the back of my neck. What's she putting my food? What's she feeding me now?
What'd you do?
My backyard ain't there anymore, hardly. But it worked. I mean, she was at a doctor here a couple of months back for her asthma, and she's smoking that Mullen, and the doctor says, "Well, you ain't got severe asthma." She says, "Well, that's what I've been told I have." But she does have asthma, but not severe. And so she's been smoking that Mullen. Went back for another checkup, and the doctor says she told the doctor what she was doing. He says, "What's that?" She said,
"You've never heard of Mullen?"
Yeah,
I wrote down the research.
So what year is 20? About back in 2012, I got Lyme's disease. I didn't have it diagnosed until 2013. By that point, it had given me facial palsy and triggered autoimmune conditions in my hands, and I've been dealing with severe arthritis since. So one of the things they gave me was obviously pain pills, right? Some opioid-based pain medication that they had me on for a while. And I was on the prescription so long, I remember just being miserable. It was a winter time. Before I had any autoimmune diagnosis, they were looking at me for cancers, diseases. So I'm getting picked, prodded, probed, you name it. And the only thing that they were doing for me is giving me pain meds. And I remember sitting on the couch thinking, is this it? I'm down to my last pills for the month, and am I going to be hustling drugs now? Is this my life? Because this is what I'm dealing with. And I realized at that moment that was the last I was going to do the opioids. And I stopped them, and I started taking golden seal root.
So what?
Golden
seal root. And it helped in a lot of ways. I eventually got off it, and then they told me that I had an autoimmune condition. And golden seal root is also good for your liver and stuff like that. I was taking some milk thistle as well. And they put me on this really strong medication that seemed to help my arthritis, and I felt almost back to normal. Started putting on weight again because I'd lost probably about 50 pounds within just a few months. So, I'm 6'4", I weighed 235. So I was in pretty good shape, working outside, landscaping. And I went down to like 180. So I lost a lot of weight and was really just rough. So I'd taken that golden seal, and those supplements kind of got me out of it. And the reason I brought it up is because I mentioned it to the doctor, and they had no clue what it was. And they suggested that I probably shouldn't take it anymore because it might interact with the other drugs. As soon as I stopped taking it, my liver function enzyme spiked. The medication that they put me on was going to shut my liver down if I didn't stop it. And I was told never to take that medication ever again. So it makes me wonder, had I not taken any of that stuff and I just stayed on this golden seal and these natural supplements, or had taken them along with this medication, would they have worked? So yes, when it comes to natural supplements, they only want to sell the big money drugs, all the injection, all the stuff that you see on TV, all those autoimmune arthritis drugs, the Humiras, the Enbrels, they don't work. They don't all work. It's $30,000 a dose, and they don't work. Some of that stuff's really expensive, and it's garbage. It's absolute garbage. That's why you don't see the commercials for them anymore, because they already stuff, and they realize they don't work. So
it's a racket.
And, yeah, and so many medications that they have today, you have to take another medication to counteract the side effects of the first medication. And it's a constant. It's like a ladder.
Yeah.
Zigzagging.
Yeah.
What have you got any have you all got any goals planned out for the upcoming year, or what you all want to try to achieve?
So I got a couple festivals coming up here locally. I'm still waiting to hear about some of them around the Northeast, or a little further down, closer to your way. There's one in Pennsylvania that I'm waiting to hear back on. But my goal, I'd love to get, a little further down south, start exploring, getting out with people, going to festivals, and putting together, my documentary, which is Ape Among Us. Pretty much kind of chronicles my journey, the stuff that I find and found out, and kind of people that I've talked to on this journey, and kind of really focus into, I guess, here locally on some of our research and our research areas. Spending those long nights, getting those, going out, doing some primitive camping, or just some solo stuff. I'm probably gonna settle down and watch some Bear Grylls stuff. Was
pretty cool.
Yeah, he's the one doing the Bigfoot. I got a brain fart.
No, it's not Bear Grylls.
No. It's why did I get a same time era? Same. That's what I'm thinking.
You're thinking about? I know
Survivor Man, right?
Yeah. I haven't been following him lately. I don't know if he's still doing up to date stuff on it when it comes to Survivor Man Bigfoot series. But he actually has some great stuff. When he was doing that, I was watching him a lot of his stuff, and he was involved with Todd Standing, and then he was trying to do his own focus on the whole subject, which he has some pretty good stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I think that's for me. It's like that one camera, no camera crews, right? Because you go out in the woods with a bunch of guys, a bunch of cameras, a bunch of lights. There's a lot of distraction. You're not getting the full. And I think that's what I want to do, is go out there and get some of that just more raw footage, wearing a GoPro, kind of micing myself up and kind of spending, that night out there. So I want to do stuff like that. I have a few ideas that we're working on that are Bigfoot related, more on the entertainment side. I have a few ideas that I'm trying to work on. Not ready to kind of spill the beans on any of that stuff yet, but I'm definitely looking with my son-in-law onto producing some Bigfoot related content. So they might be Bigfoot themed show type thing. One of the things is a sitcom idea that we had, which could be like some scripted shorts, and some competition shows that we actually had in mind that we're trying to work out the bugs for, which would be really cool, right? Having Bigfoot teams kind of go head to head in like a competition. We got some really cool ideas for that. Whether that stuff's going to get pulled off or not sure, but for the upcoming year, definitely getting around the country a little more, and getting out in the woods.
But you talk about making like getting some Bigfoot groups to do a competition. You know what that reminds me of? And you probably seen this if watched it. And I thought it was fun when they did this. But the $1 Million Bigfoot show. Oh, I forget what
Okay.
I forget the exact name of it, but that's the one where Stacy Brown from out of Florida actually ended up winning that competition. It was a Bigfoot show contest where there was these groups that were split up in pairs of twos or whatever, and they went out and tried to the whole objective of the whole show was to find the best Bigfoot evidence.
Okay, yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah. So
I agree with that.
I thought that was pretty cool. It was a fun show.
Yeah, I think I came across that a while. It must have it's been out a while ago, probably mid 2010s.
Yeah, back when they came out, I was actually part of another podcast where every time they did an episode on that, we actually did a podcast speaking about every episode. You know, it was like an after show kind of thing. So it was fun though, watching that come about and how that went out. So
Yeah,
I mean, what they had wasn't really Bigfoot evidence, but it was the best that got produced out of the whole thing. So they ended up, we ended up winning all that money, and so
that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to revisit that. But that's one of the ideas I had. I had an idea for a sitcom show where a guy from maybe down and off the coast, he's getting sick of the tourists and all the people that are kind of coming around, so he buys a campground up on the Canadian border, and come to find out the same people that he's fed up with down at the beach are the same people going up to visit his campground. And the storyline is that somebody spots a Bigfoot, so it brings all kinds of different people through the campground looking for Bigfoot. It'd be a fun, more kind of like a I don't know how to explain it, but just one of those offbeat comedies, you know what I mean, where you just kind of get some crazy characters and put them in some crazy situations and just kind of have fun with it. Because honestly, I think not only for us, people that are in the Bigfoot community would love to see some Bigfoot, some content created toward us, but I think the rest of the world would love to. They have no idea like this stuff. The mass general public, they don't know that there's Bigfoot communities, there's Bigfoot societies, there's groups, there's stuff like that. And I think it's very interesting for a lot of people where when I talk to them and they're like, what? Wait a minute, there's a Bigfoot society or there's Bigfoot groups? What's a Bigfoot group? There's festivals, really? And it's like you go to these places and they're full of life, and that's why a lot of what we do in our show is go to festivals and events and trying to bring some of that home to people so that they can, meet this person or that person or whatever. And we've had a lot of fun in New York and around here in, New England with people, from Steve Culls, Richie and Wojo, of course. Can't wait to get up to Maine next year. That's going to be one of the big events we're excited about. Jason Kenzie's going to be up there. Alex Petikoff's going to be there. Steve Culls is going to be up there. I'm not sure if Ronnie LeBlanc's going up there or not, but he's the guy that's always around. He's doing, a lot of the library talk, so we'll run into him when he's rolling.
Well, Ronnie lives in Massachusetts. He's from, I know he's up there, so yeah.
Yeah, we've been trying to get him on a few things. He's been busy. He just did a book and Bigfoot Life movie, which I haven't quite watched yet. I was waiting to sit down with my son-in-law to kind of watch that. And yeah, I mean, we've a lot of stuff that we've done, like Richie and I have talked about a lot, is we don't feel like there was a lot of representation in New England or from New England when it came to Bigfoot. Alex Petikoff and Ronnie were, big names up here. But they were traveling around the world, right? They weren't really kind of up here playing in the woods with us. So we've seen a lot more just personalities. I don't mind putting myself out there. Kelly, who I work with, my teammate, He's a great guy. He's not afraid to put himself out there. And, Richie and Wojo, they're definitely not, And then, of course, we meet like the Vogels and all these other people and just try to cross paths as much as we can, trying to plan outings. We had an outing last weekend, or a couple weekends ago, to check out some areas that we had. It was kind of cold and wet. Ended up with the flu for a few days afterward, which kind of sucked. But that's kind of part of it, right? Putting yourself out there, running yourself thin, and that's what happens. So we just want to do more of it, get out there and just have a blast. Are you doing any festivals this year, Dan?
Well, the one in Virginia, I'm holding off on that. I'm actually taking a break this year. However, we had, I have plans to do my Pennsylvania event, which I held 2 years ago, and it was a big success. As of right now, the Facebook event page for my Pennsylvania event has grown over to 13,000, well over 13,000 followers. We had a venue location that was promised, but when we were told to contact them during the first of the year, is when they start booking. Well, they wouldn't let me book because they have another Bigfoot event that takes place here, which they said, "Oh, it's inclusive. We don't let no one else do it." Nobody shows up to that event, so okay, whatever, kiss my ass. But so I have others up there. We're looking for a new venue. We're hoping to host that up in September, but right now it's hard finding a venue that's willing to work with us, or nobody in Pennsylvania wants to make contact with us. But we have more followers than all the other major Pennsylvania events. So, I mean, we're willing to work with everybody. I got people that are willing. They're trying to find sponsors for me up there. I got people that are trying to contact venue locations. I mean, it's a festival. It's an outdoor event. So,
right.
So right now, I haven't made no announcements on that yet till we get something concrete. Because I don't know. As of right now, I'm getting very prejudiced with the state of Pennsylvania when it comes to venues. So they're pissing me off. But maybe somebody will wake up and say, "Hey, look, let's get this guy situated." But again, they are really kind of pissing me off. So Pennsylvania kiss my ass at the moment. So, but besides that, no, I don't have nothing else really going on. I have a couple events, small time events, where I'm hosting library lectures and gathering people that hopefully come forward to share their stories. I got one at February 28th in West Virginia.
You have a town hall coming up, right?
Yeah, that's up in Pennsylvania. So that's West Virginia. I got the one coming up February 28th in West Virginia. I just recently booked another one for the month of August in South Carolina. So that there, I got a flyer. I'll be posting that very soon. I just got them confirmed and booked. So yeah, South Carolina in the month of August. It's going to be on a Saturday. So I got that going on. South Carolina. I've been down there attending that event for the last 4 years, and I've had so many people come forward to share stories with me from all around. I mean, I've had people from Georgia come up and meet me and share their stories. So I'm hoping that this will be a successful event where, I'm not just trying to gather stories, but I'll be doing presentations at these local libraries down there. And when I made contact, they were excited to have me booked there. So I may be doing more in the future. So I mean, I'm just doing one simple things at a time. Again, I'm taking a break from my Virginia Bigfoot conference this year, because the cost of everything. Everything's costs too much money these days. So I feel it's more. I'm not sure the right way to put this, but I'm more concerned. I'm more interested in gathering the information, and then I'll do a presentation to share my knowledge of what I'm doing. So, because I hosted an event in Pennsylvania, in South Carolina recently because a couple different things. I got a lot of friends down there. People want to see me down there. The Bigfoot festival in South Carolina that I've been going to the last 4 years. They told me they didn't want me this past year because of trouble from a local entertainer based out of Virginia here who started trouble with me and started spreading rumors. Well, they didn't want. I don't know what they heard or the rumors they heard, but because of them, um, I was friends with them people, but because they want to go off of the rumors they hear, they can kiss my ass too. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I really don't. Um, so I'm doing my own thing. I'm reaching out to these locations because there's people that want to see me down there. I've been contacted numerous times from different sources. So I'm finding the way to get down to these locations.
Yeah.
I got people wanting me to come down to do investigations with them. I mean,
Sure.
I'm doing the best I can with it. So but I gotta triumph over all these other commercial events, and do my own thing.
Yeah.
And but that's the way I'm looking at it. So but so yeah, who's it? Yeah, rumors. Yeah, rumor mill never get what are rumors. Yeah. But anyway, enough of that. Uh, yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be out there. I'm gonna put my voice out there, and I'm gonna gather information. The other reason I'm reaching out to these events and doing these local libraries now is I've been more successful. Before I ever started my own events here in Virginia, I started off doing library lectures. I've had full conference rooms filled up with people hearing my presentations. I've learned stories from other people this way, and so I was like, you know what? I looked at things. I said, I got to take a step back. I have to go back to where I started. That's where the information that I'm gathering or I'm seeking to gather has been more successful that way. Especially with I'm doing David and Melissa know I'm working on our our research series, Bigfoot Explorers.
Mm-hmm.
I've been meeting up with eyewitnesses. I've been filming them, and that's what I'm after right now. I'm after eyewitness accounts, and I want to learn more from other people. But yeah, that's basically what's going on right now. And Lori says she's going to the one in West Virginia. Awesome, February 28th. Yeah, it's on my Facebook page. I just recently reshared that and posted about that, but that's happening in Parkersburg, West Virginia. I'll be out there a day or two before that event takes place because I got a good friend of mine who's hosting me in her house, which is awesome. Linda Sigmund, she's bless her heart, she's a sweet woman, and so yeah, and I get to film. I'll be interviewing her because she's got some activity that's been going on at her property for over the years. I've had her on the podcast here before. She's a great woman, very nice, down to earth, and but yeah, if you've got a Bigfoot story. I'm gonna find a way to get to you guys, and I want to document everything I can, and kind of go from there. It's a fun thing to do. It's a fun project, so absolutely. But Mike, I do want. There's one thing I didn't get to ask you. I want to bring it up on here. Let you talk about this. Now, you have a documentary, or if it's something else, please correct me on this. But I discovered that you have a film titled "Man Ape Among Us."
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you mind talking about that? Sharing some information on that? What exactly is that, and when's that coming out?
Yeah. So yeah, just was it last month? A few weeks back, we released a full documentary. What we did was we took all earlier in the season, back in March, we had taken all of our media, all our recordings from all the events, anything that we had for like it was probably a good year and a half, and I just took it all, decided to tell a story, finding out if there's any truth to the Bigfoot or devil monkeys or what we call up here in New Hampshire woods devils. So to kind of group them into a one category, I came up with the name man ape, right? Because instead of an ape man, more of a man ape, something that's man like. We're not sure what it is. So I teamed up with New Hampshire Bigfoot Society, a lifelong buddy of mine, and we started just kind of going down the rabbit holes and started, learning more and more about not only Bigfoot, other cryptids, how it all ties together, what does it mean and how does it fit into, our backwoods in our community. So we went to Whitehall a few times, and it kind of opened the door for what we were doing now. So that's available at Chaos Theater Productions YouTube channel. It's done pretty well. Not sure what the views are at, but we've been putting out a lot of shorts and a lot of things that kind of a part of it, that tells our journey through our investigations, through our research, like I said, festivals, interviews, eyewitness accounts.
What's the name of that channel again?
Chaos Theater Productions.
Oh, she's already ahead of it.
Okay.
She is a good secretary, at least.
And I'm currently working on starting the second season. We originally wanted one big long documentary. We kind of broke it up into a season where we released 5 episodes, and then that was in March. And then just recently we put them all together, so it's like 1, 2, and it's over 2 hours long. But we think we got a lot of information and a lot of stuff in that time. So hopefully it feels longer, and it leaves people wanting more. I do have some stuff that I haven't released, and I'm thinking about how to do it, which is longer form, more of the longer shots in the woods when you're having discussions or looking things up. What we've done on the show is kind of quicken things up a little bit. My son-in-law, who's not a Bigfoot guy, but he's a producer. He works at local Concord TV right here in Concord, New Hampshire. And he's got a good feel of things. So I put the storylines together, the clips that I want, the topics, and he kind of cleans it up and puts it together so that it's a fun, good flow, fun. We have a lot of fun. We have suspense in it too. I like to build up drama and suspense. And I'm working on season 2 now. I'm hoping to get that out sooner than later, and get excited about more filming and more recording. But I have a few months here of really just putting stuff together, so people want to watch it, get caught up on the first one, and then we got more stuff coming out. And you can also find us at New Hampshire Bigfoot Society too if you're interested in seeing what we're up to on the regular. We got a lot of people in there, a lot of people that are really excited and enthusiastic. Dan's in the group. A lot of times we have fun debunking stuff. Somebody will post something that we'll find online. We'll spread it around. We'll get everyone's opinion and take on it. Dan's great at debunking crap. I love it. I love debunking hoaxes. It's half the battle. I know a lot of people get carried away. Oh, this AI stuff sucks. It's like, no, I like being able to pick it apart because it kind of sharpens your skills as a researcher, right?
You know what's irritating to me though? I mean, it's fun it is. I find it more fascinating to be able to debunk something and prove it otherwise. But what's so agitating? I'm sure you probably feel the same way, Mike, and anyone else that's listening. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it's to go into the see these images or whatever's being posted in these various Facebook groups, these Bigfoot groups. Watching or just viewing the comments. I said, and it's not just Bigfoot. I watch these. I come across all these other ones. There's a lot of these about these stupid Chihuahua videos. They're all AI created, and to see the people feeling so sorry for this dog or this or just fall on the belief that, oh wow, that's great footage. That's the real deal. That's people. I'm going to behave myself right now, but I'm just going to say it's so very agitating,
Yeah.
It is just you just want to reach out and strangle these people. You dumb fucking idiot, like come on. I'm sorry, I say more than I want to say, but that's how I feel.
No, I will say, venting online. I do want to make an apology to Chet Nichols. I kind of snapped at him the other day on some stuff, and I didn't realize till later that he got upset by it. And so if he's watching or listening, I'm sorry, Chet. I was having a rough day.
Oh, no. What was that about? I'm curious.
I posted a video of some stuff that we had done over at a local state park. We had to get together. Was it last weekend or whatever, a couple weekends ago. And Adam Malachek from Penford Media was standing there, and I captured a video of him kind of mocking Kelly Porter measuring out some prints. We found some prints in the snow. We weren't saying they were Bigfoot, but there was definitely a trackway, and it looked like a small Bigfoot barefoot prints in the snow. So we had a whole discussion on whether it was a trackway, whether it wasn't, and we had a lot of fun with it. But I posted a video of just Adam ranting about it, and Chet wanted more information on, what do these tracks look like? How many were there? Well, all these details. And I'm driving, I got a trailer with a skid steer on the back of my, I'm driving down the road with one knee when I'm not supposed to, trying to pull up these videos and post stuff. And none of them were good enough for them. And I'm like, I don't know what you're looking for. I ain't got time for this. And I called him an armchair quarterback, and I'm like, I just kind of left and I forgot about it. And then, blowing up my phone, and everyone's reaching out to me like, oh, what'd you do to this guy? He's all pissed off.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, shit.
No, shit. I tell you, he's a local. I've met him. For, he got to come up. He was the MC at the Wintergreen Resort Bigfoot Festival up here. And, Chet's a great guy. He really is. But I've actually also had words with him as well. So on a couple of different subjects. And the thing is, when it comes to Bigfoot tracks, I know this for a fact. I've learned this through him. He has an app on his phone. I got one too, but mine's different because he's got an Apple phone, an iPhone, whatever you call it. I got an Android, and there's these apps on your phone. You can take pictures of a track, and they will produce a 3D image. Okay. And so I've actually got a couple of them. I'm only on the free version, which limits you. You could only have so many. You can only do so many. So I know the biggest thing with him, I've learned like I guess he assumes everyone's supposed to have this app. Because a track, you can't identify a track unless you have this 3D video app. Sure. It took me the longest time to find that type of app, and he's got one. I love it. His actually shows really well, good details. So I just started recently playing around with mine, So I've learned a few things with mine, but again, that's kind of like everyone's not aware of these what's available, because we all go out there. I always carry my phone with me. I record, take pictures, and film with my phone as well as my camcorder now.
Yep.
But so. It is what it is, but it's like not everyone's going to have the tools that you have,
right.
So Well, they're not just aware of them, so it's whatever.
Yeah, I do have Scaniverse. I think Richie pointed that out to me a while ago, and I've used it a couple times, but it was not updated on my phone. So when I went to use it, it was uploading. We had bad cell service out there, so it never uploaded for me to get it. So that's one reason why I didn't have any of that, but the rest of it was all back here on my computer on SD cards. I only had a couple, and I still got to go through all that footage, that evidence, and see what we got and kind of make sense. Just before I talked to you, I was talking with Kelly. We did a Zoom call, kind of catching up on stuff. We do that all the time when we have something going on, and I'm putting stuff together and need a little extra commentary or some just some insight on stuff. And we found some other things that we weren't quite sure about, and we're trying to put together, a storyline and a puzzle, and it might lead to more questions, but it's compelling stuff, right? At least it's for the discussion, and it works.
Yeah, but real quick about the I was looking at the app. You mentioned, what's the one you said you had?
Scaniverse.
Okay, I've seen that one, but I have an Android phone, so mine the one I have on my the one on my phone is actually Polycam.
All right, I have an iPhone.
Yeah, see, yours is going to be different because what's available on iPhone won't be available for Android. So the one I have again is called Polycam, and I've used it once or twice, and I like it. It's pretty cool. Like I said, you're limited to how many times you can use it, but if you want to use it multiple times, you have to actually pay for a
right. Yeah. So, I know I've done some subscriptions on some things, and they're helpful for a while, and then you forget about them, and then you realize, why am I still paying $5 a month or whatever for this stuff? And I'm at the point now where I'm actually kind of clearing a lot of that stuff out of my phone.
Oh, I've done that.
Renew my subscriptions. I got a trail cam that I pay a subscription for to get the cellular.
Oh, I did too, until mine ended up getting stolen. Yeah, it ain't the first camera I've had stolen, but not my cellular camera. It was the most expensive one I had out there in the woods, and it got stolen. So.
Oh shit! Yeah. So. But I haven't even used it. I got it for Christmas. I was all excited to go out and play with it. It's been too cold. The batteries are going to go dead as soon as I throw it out there. Because I mean, we're expecting 8 below tomorrow morning, or something ridiculous. The next couple days is going to be really cold here. So I heard some stuff out back. I got a little bit of conservation land out behind me, and I want to set up the camera. I think a bobcat's been kind of snooping around, because we've heard some growls all year long, and it's subtle enough to where it literally sounds like a cat, like a giant house cat or something, just on the other side of the fence, hiding out. The dog comes out, and it doesn't, want us out there. So we've heard some growling a few times, and nothing big moved through there. Definitely no big bear sign. Definitely not a Bigfoot. No big heavy animals crashing through there. So I think something small was kind of sneaking through, but without the camera set up in the right spot, probably never catch it. Well,
hey, while you're talking about wildlife, let's talk wildlife real quick. I'm just curious, because now we have been known to have, and I've actually got pictures that were actually shared. That's been taking place just east of where we live here, east on the other side of the mountain, east of us.
Yep.
Now, I believe I've seen something which, like for example, a wolf, red wolf. A lot of people are like, okay, well, how did red wolves get down here? People believe like they migrate, they move around, just like a mountain lion. They get around, they move. People don't realize a mountain lion will travel and run for miles. For various purposes, and end up in other territories. But so, I mean, what's acknowledged up there in your area as far as when it comes to wildlife? I mean, you guys have wolves and mountain lions or whatnot.
So, no wolves, definitely no wolves, but we do have a larger breed. I guess they're calling them the Eastern coyotes, which are much bigger than the standard coyotes. And I think it's probably a wolf coyote hybrid. But we haven't seen like full blown, like big ass wolves here. There's been reports up in Maine. We've had some reported sightings of mountain lions. Nothing confirmed here in New Hampshire, but once again in Maine and Vermont, I want to say there's more confirmed like trail cams and stuff. But other than that, we have black bear, a good amount of black bear. We have moose, deer, fisher. We have a fair amount of fisher, even though I heard they might be struggling a little bit lately. Definitely weasels and even some pine martens, that type of stuff. Otters. We do have otters. I saw a big old dead otter on the side of the road a few weeks back, and I wish it was in rush hour traffic, and there was no way I could pull over with a piece of equipment that I was hauling. But I've never seen a dead otter, and I don't know that I've seen any locally, but I've seen a lot of pictures. People have been catching otters, which is kind of cool. So when I grew up here in southeastern New Hampshire, we had a lot of factories, especially in the 70s and 80s. 80s is what I remember. But by the late 80s, all those shoe factories and textile factories had left. They went to the West Coast. So all your big names like Timberland and Reebok and Nike, those were all locally made here in New Hampshire. Those were businesses that were started here.
Yeah, my parents actually met in a shoe factory in Massachusetts.
Okay, yeah.
That was before Dad got into General Motors. But
Yeah, so those shoe factories were spread all out, throughout New England and all these, mill towns where they built these hydro dams on the river, like the Merrimack River here in southeast New Hampshire. But once those factories started to leave, we were left with a lot of pollution and rundown old just infrastructure. A lot of land that was clear cut, old abandoned farms and shit like that. So through the 90s, a lot of that got restored. A lot of old buildings got taken down. A lot of the old dump spots, they called them like Superfund sites, the old tire dumps, the chemical waste spots, all that stuff. We had all of it, pollution. It was all cleaned up. Like I said, old barns and old farms were bulldozed and leveled, and it was kind of let to grow back. So over the last 30 years or so, a lot of everything's been recovering. In the 90s, we had a residential building boom, and now more recently, we've had another residential building boom. Because we went from, a really impoverished state after all that manufacturing left. We were not much different than, parts of Appalachia. We were just the northern end of it, right? A lot of just abandoned railroad tracks and stuff that was just not even operational anymore. And as that all kind of cleared back, we started seeing the bald eagles come back. Loons are coming back. Like the black bear and the bobcats. We get a lot of bobcat, a lot of coyotes. So a lot of the apex predators and a lot of the game too. Like we have moose down here in southeastern New Hampshire, which was unheard of back in the day. They're not common, but I'll see one maybe every couple of years or something. Last year it was 2 of them ran out in front of the road. I tried pulling my phone out as quick as I could, and these things are bigger or as big as big horses.
I bet one of my oldest sisters seen one in Maine, but she she lives down in Florida now. She moved down there with her late husband, but she recalled talking about sharing with us when she seen a moose in Maine. So, that was some years ago. But
there's biggest. Well, they might even be bigger than horses. I've seen them like in the middle of the road, like, oh, somebody's horse got out, or going hunting and like, oh, there's a horse in the middle of the field. I must be in the wrong spot, and then they lift the head and you see that just moose head.
The adult moose are bigger than horses.
Yeah.
Well, it's like one of the local gun shops down here that me and my father we go in on some occasions. When you walk in through the front main entrance and you turn around and look up above the door, here's this big moose head mounted right there. Yeah. Dad's telling me, he said, if that was a real live moose, that's about as high as their head. We're looking up at it like, whoa.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm 6 foot tall. That thing's over almost 8-9 feet tall.
The only horse that might come close to meeting the moose might be a Clydesdale. So
yeah.
They're big. They're big. I mean, the average horse is a big one's about 15 hands high. Yeah. That's one of the horses we had before back in the day. She was a big horse. The moose they tower over her easily.
Yeah, Clydesdales are pretty decent. I got to see them when I went to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia, some years ago, and they're pretty cool looking horses. They're pretty healthy looking.
So as far as the climate zones where I'm at, I want to say, and I'll have to pull up a map that I made a while ago, but I want to say where I'm in New Hampshire is not different, at least as far as the average temperatures, the duration of the rainy periods and stuff. It's probably like kind of maybe central Pennsylvania, kind of into that Ohio area, and that's probably either just north of where you're at or not far off, where you go down to like southeast of Mass where Richie's area is, and that's probably much more like parts of Virginia and Maryland than it is here, because even though they're hour and a half or a couple hours away, there's a big difference between like Rhode Island and say Mount Washington, right? Mount Washington is the tallest peak in the Northeast. It has some of the worst weather ever recorded on Earth, and it's considered subarctic, and it's only a couple hundred miles from the coast, if that. You know what I mean? So it's like everything just kind of squeezes through here, and you could drive 20 minutes up the road and have different snow accumulation amounts. And that's how I think I noticed the weather here a lot, being outside, following the weather, being a plow guy, making a living off how the snow falls. I've had properties in Salem, New Hampshire, which is probably literally only 15 or 20 minutes outside of Boston. It's probably the closest. Actually, that part of New Hampshire is closer to Boston than most of Massachusetts is. And it's close enough to the coast where anything north of that's going to probably have a couple more inches of snow, and then anything south of it's going to have a couple inches, less. So it all fluctuates. And that's what gets me to think that if Bigfoot and some of these mysterious primates are here, that they might only be here in the summertime, and they might actually move a little south, maybe down to southeastern Mass, or even a little further. If they're into the long walk, they might make it, through New York into Pennsylvania. I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of makes me think about some of the discussions I've had with other people. And I've been asked this question myself: does Bigfoot migrate? Do they move around? I honestly believe yes, to a certain extent.
Right. I don't think it's a big migration, maybe, right? But maybe.
Right. Yeah, I mean, basically with what you're suggesting, because the way I look at it is, I mean, if we look at our prey animals, I mean, when the winters get harsh, what's the deer doing? Where are they moving? You got to consider they're going to move where the food sources are available to them. Therefore, if the predators are feeding off of them, they're going to follow that. I mean, there's a pattern. I mean, do they really move that far off? I mean, it depends. Like I said, I think it really depends on what's available. And
right.
I mean, if the predators are feeding off these various sources of other wildlife, to me, it only makes sense that, hey, if that's what the food source is, they're going to follow that food source.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it only makes sense to me. I mean, if they go elsewhere, I mean, I don't know. The migration patterns depend on food sources and availability, on shelter, and everything else. Right. There's a lot of key factors that you have to look at and consider. The way I look at it. So it is.
Some of the questions that we have is maybe more nomadic than migratory. Where if we think of a migration like moving up and down the East Coast, but nomadic might be kind of moving a little closer to some warmer areas closer to the coastline, and maybe to higher, maybe some higher altitudes in the colder months. If the air's, you settle in those low areas, it's going to be colder in the winter. Or you want to get up in the elevation, so maybe some of the higher hills close enough to the coast where it's a little more mild. And then if that's the case, there's shelters, and it's all plausible. There's the Japanese snow macaques, right? They live in the snowy climates. They hang out in the hot springs, and they're probably one of the most tolerant primates to cold weather outside of humans. So we know that primates can exist in snowy conditions. So how much of that are they going to, and then if they're just nomadic, how much are they moving throughout the day? Are they moving back and forth? Is it, so.
Right. Mike, I wanted to ask you a question. Now, how often? I mean, I know you got events and stuff that coming up and whatnot, but how big are you into traveling? Do you travel pretty far, or did what you got planned, or?
Right now, for what I have planned is mostly the Northeast. I want to travel. I mean, that was kind of the thing is, I will travel, because there's only so much stuff we're going to be able to or do here, festival wise and event wise, in New England. And why I focus on the festival and events is because that's it's a good excuse to get us out of here, right? It puts us in those environments where I really like being in crowds of people and talking to, people about Bigfoot and just whatever. That's so much fun. And, but yeah, no, I'm definitely willing to travel. If it's a camping trip or something like that too, I'm down for whatever. It just obviously, like anything, it's got to fit into the timeline, what I'm doing, and then of course budget and stuff like that. But I want to do more and more of it. So
Yeah, well, that's a small part of why I was actually asking, because we got the Vogel brothers from Massachusetts. They confirmed that they're coming down and joining our next group camp out in May.
Okay.
So I wanted to throw the invitation out to you as well. I mean, I briefly brought it up to Richie and Wojo before. I'm going to reach back out to them. I don't know. I know everybody's got their
Yep.
limitations on travel and everything. Based off of your what you guys got going on and everything. But I've come to know you guys over the years. And this is the first time me and you actually having you on here with the rest of us.
Yeah.
Got to talk and learn more about you, but we're all open-minded. We love everybody. We don't discriminate. So anybody that's like-minded with us, we definitely want to put the invitation out there to you. If you guys are up for it, I mean, like I said, the month of May is when we do is our next group camp out. So I mean, it's totally up to you. If you can't make it, it's understandable. I mean,
so what part? When in May?
It would be the 17th through the 26th. I'm thinking off the top of my head without looking at my post.
Okay. And whereabouts would that be?
Are you familiar with the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia?
I've heard of it.
I would have to send you actually GPS coordinates. Let you got to go from there. I'll send you GPS coordinates. You're in, New Hampshire, so it'll be probably a little bit. I know it's going to be a lot further.
Sure.
I'm guessing it's going to be between probably a 10-hour drive for you if you drive.
Yeah.
At least a 10-hour drive.
Wow. Yeah.
How many days is that?
It's for a whole week.
It's for the whole week. 17.
Yeah, it's like a 6 to 7 day event. So,
okay. I'll take a look at it. That is also April and May is kind of tough sometimes, especially maybe a whole week because that's the landscape season kicks off.
I didn't think about that.
For us up here, that's when everything thaws and starts coming back to life. So,
right. That's why we do it in May, because a lot of things happen in May. The weather it's not as cold. It starts warming up pretty good. And that's where we see a lot more activity with wildlife in general and other things. So
I mean, I would love to, and I appreciate the invitation. And maybe too, if it's something that can work out one way or another, I'll take a look at it and I'll definitely get back to you.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I totally understand if you can't make it. Like I said, I know it's, but yeah, like I said, it'd be great to have more, bring New England down to Virginia. So, get you guys, feel and on what we experience down here as well, and, but yeah, a lot, between you, Richie and Wojo, I mean, you guys, I know that they're out in the field a lot too, and I see a lot of their videos and, the Volker brothers, Tim and Eric, they have a lot of experiences. And you guys are all acquainted with wildlife and the outdoors, so it'd be great to bring other experienced outdoor personnel down here to kind of get a piece of what we're dealing with. I mean, we're David and Melissa can tell you we're very laid back. We're not. We don't go out there with a military tactical approach. We go out there with a laid back approach, So
that's cool.
But so yeah, that's why I wanted to bring that up to you and ask you on that there. Maybe it's something to think about. If it falls, under something you could do, I mean, great. But again, I mean, if you say no, sorry, I can't do it. No feelings hurt. So
sure,
absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Before we come to a close, David, Melissa, is there anything you want to share or throw out there or ask Mike?
No, it's a pleasure meeting you. Maybe based on some of the stuff we told you that we've experienced here the last couple of campouts, to give you some more ideas to keep on the lookout for is that. I mean, we all learn from each other for ideas and stuff like that. So,
yeah, it was great meeting you guys too.
It's been a great talk.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I know when I asked you about the man ape among us, when you were sharing some of that information, I had to step away from the headset. So can you run us back on it? Is that available to watch now?
Yep, it's on Chaos Theater Productions on YouTube. And if you find me on Facebook is where I am most of the time. I do have Instagram and TikTok, but I don't usually mess around with that. It should be pinned right to the top of my profile. And once again, too, if anyone listening wants to learn more about what we're doing here in New Hampshire, reach out to the New Hampshire Bigfoot Society Facebook group. It is a private group, so we don't have a lot of the riffraff that a lot of other those open public sites do with just and if there's any confrontation, we're pretty quick to get it sorted out one way or another so that we're not dealing with stuff much like your group where you got a tight grip on it. You're pretty cool and pretty laid back, but you don't put up with BS either. We're pretty similar to that. And from there, if you're especially if somebody's local to here to New England, when we plan an event or something, feel free to hit us up and come out or even do an investigation. So
absolutely. I've been contacted too. I'll throw this while we're live. I've been contacted by a few individuals, people I have no clue who they are, that have shown a great deal of interest in participating with our group campouts and our expeditions. Now, one thing I've done in the past, our events are completely free. However, on the other side of things, because I don't know who these people are, if they're the first time ever attending with us, one thing I shared this in direct private emails, and I've had different people contact me. They want to participate with us. There is a one time I call it a donation fee, and I've shared that with them. And the reason why, like I said, our events are free, but if I don't know who you are, it's a first time. There is a one-time donation fee, and part of the reason why I throw that out there is because we don't want nobody coming into our area. We don't know who you are, but if you have any intentions of hoaxing, we don't want that.
Right.
And one of the reasons why I throw, okay, if you're willing to pay this, it gives me a little bit of trust towards you. Like, why would a hoaxer pay this much? This fee and come out and participate with us? You're just throwing away your money. So I mean, that's why I do what I do. Like I say, I want to get to know people. We don't know who you are. But there's a lot of people on social media I've come to learn and know over the years. We invited them at no cost. But I am very funny about that. Our location it's a public location, even though it's very primitive. We just don't want people coming out there, with any funny business. That's all we ask.
We did an event just a couple weekends ago, and it was just a get together in the afternoon. But we made sure it was in a public spot in the public, and we even let the local authorities know that we were up to something, so that the people that did show up, rightfully so, was people that we knew and interacted with before, so it was cool. But it's always sketchy when you put yourself out to the public like that and you offer, your time, and you're not sure what's other people's intentions are. So
right. Exactly. So I mean, we hope that everybody's honest, because like I said, we do experience some things out there, and we're not always fortunate to capture everything on film like we want to. But if anything does happen, if we see something, like what David shared with you earlier, seeing, what we've experienced out there, seeing a strange light and activity with our equipment. This stuff really happens. Things are really happening. And maybe, just maybe, we might be fortunate to all witness seeing the big hairy guy himself,
Right.
and and when we do, I'm going to say when, I'm not saying if, when we do, and if we're fortunate to capture it on camera, hey, I will tell you, it'll be the real deal, So we
you
don't
got
go
to
out
have a
there.
sense of humor too, because there's a few times we had to debunk ourselves. I had Melissa. We were chasing red lights one night with Melissa running around in circles, and what we were saying turned out to be one of my trail cams going off. Another member seen. We're sneaking up on it like, what is that? And it turned out my trail cam. I forgot to put it there.
I wasn't there, was I?
No, you all were. No,
I
you
was back here.
No, you were out there when I was Daniel on the radio.
Yeah,
you was walking around in circles, make sure it wasn't your red headlamp.
Yeah, because
you gotta have a sense of humor too. I mean, it happens,
Well, yeah, when that happened, David communicated with us. It was me, Melissa, and Drew up in the other campsite. And what wasn't making sense to me is like I was, okay, wait a minute, how are they? If we did have red lights on, there's no way they're seeing our lights.
I didn't think so either, but we had to rule it out.
Yeah, right. But I was like, okay. I was kind of getting excited. I was like, dude, they're seeing some red eye shine.
And I was standing up a few times, but I didn't realize it was close enough when I was standing up where the fire was at nighttime. It was causing it to activate. Mary seen it. And then John seen it. And then I seen it. Then we got with them because it looked like it was off in the distance. I mean, that's just perception.
Yeah.
Then I called them on the radio because they were seeing the lights and I seen it and whatnot. We had them walking circles with the red lights on. And I'm walking up real slow where we were seeing it. John's behind me looking over my shoulders. You had to see it.
I bet that was hilarious.
And then I got with about maybe 15 yards from it, realized I put a trail cam facing the camp on a tree. And it happened to be the one that had the glow to it. I like the no glow. So that's the only one I had with the glow. And I didn't want to put it in the woods, so I just put it up a camp.
Yeah.
And
I bet you won't put it back here.
It broke her heart, but you have to debunk yourself too.
Yeah.
You got to have fun when you're out there, even though it wasn't intentional. It happened, I mean, you got to have fun.
That's Absolutely. It's all about having fun.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, before we jump off here, do you have any last words you want to share with the audience before we go?
No, just thanks for having me, Dan, and I'm glad that we were able to hook up and chat.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Nice meeting you guys too.
Yeah,
nice
same here.
Meeting you.
Hopefully we talk again in the future.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Oh, for sure. And for those listening, for those who've been following our podcast, since right now we brought our podcast back, it's the season of the podcast, I call it. We do host our Bigfoot podcast on Friday nights. Usually around 8:00 p.m. Tonight we started at 8:30 because we got a snowstorm expected here for the next couple of days, and I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to make sure they had their milk and bread.
Don't forget the toilet paper.
Can't forget the toilet paper. I mean, pine cones ain't accessible this time of year right now, but
well, mullen would make. If you have any of that mullen left over, that'd make some good toilet paper too.
Don't give her ideas.
It's nice and fuzzy. Yes.
Melissa, go out in the backyard, start picking.
I'd put it out right now. It's the first year plant right now. You got to wait till the second year.
Walmart.
That's when you get the big leaves.
Now, I was at Walmart yesterday morning after dropping my grandson off, and then today, because I was off yesterday and I was off today. I'm always off on Fridays, but I was in Walmart today, and boy, was it crazy in there because it was chaotic. Because first of all, there was only one line open, and there was all these people finding a way to cash out. The self-checkout lines weren't even open. I was like, what the heck is going on here? But yeah, it was pretty chaotic. But, and finally the other ones start opening up left and right. It took a while, but they started opening up. Yeah, Walmart had to get their crap together. Knowing, hey, there's people in here trying to get their last-minute milk and bread and whatever else they want. So.
People panic. A couple of days to buy 2 weeks worth.
Everybody at our Walmart, everything was empty with the milk and the bread.
Crazy.
Same thing at Food Line.
Yeah, because Dad said he was out earlier. Dad was out looking for the little propane cylinders that I use for my cook stove. He said every place he went to was sold out. He found one Ace Hardware, the local one up the road from us. He said, I got 2 of them. I said, Dad, all right, that's going to be more than enough, Dad. I said, I already got a partial one that I barely used, you know. You know, he's like, because I got the Coleman Cook stove. He wants something for backup just in case, you know.
Well, my brother sent me pictures from Kentucky, and that's where I'm originally from. But Walmart's there, they were totally sold out of pizza.
Oh,
I never heard of that before. Pizza shells gone. Just show me pictures, just blank, gone. I mean, I never heard of that before. Pizza? If you lose your electricity, what's that going to do you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, right next to me, you guys can't see it, but right next to me, I got my power station. I got all my rechargeable lights and everything set up right here. So, I mean, I'm not worried about nothing.
Well, this is up on you. I had to go buy some oil for an oil lamp today just in case.
Yeah, we got a generator too if we need it, but I don't think it's going to be that bad as far as, you know. Yeah,
I know up here we're supposed to get
just in case the power goes out.
We've had worse.
Yeah,
we've had worse.
We had 23 inches back in, what was it, 2016 or something like that.
This ain't half of that.
It's not supposed to be as much, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll get through it.
Real quick, I do want to throw out there real quick. Again, Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have Ronald Murphy joining us next Friday. I mean, there's others I'm waiting to get confirmation on that's reached out to me. But as of next Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for those who know Ronald Murphy, he will be joining us next Friday. So there's a possibility. Sometimes I do throw random podcasts beforehand, but Friday nights is our primary set date for podcasts when it comes to Bigfoot. We had a podcast last night, which was a very interesting topic and discussion, and it was out of the realm of Bigfoot, but you know, it's like any other odd podcast, I will throw them on other dates, but Friday nights is the one I throw for Bigfoot podcast. So, but if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel Bigfoot Zone ECBRO, I would really suggest doing so. Subscribe and make sure you click that little bell icon next to the word subscribe, so you stay on top and get your notifications. Because I got people. I had one individual, I don't know. I've been telling them this for years. He asks the same questions year after year, throughout the year. Hey, I want to ask questions on your live chat. And I said, well, follow the damn subscription. I'm getting tired of telling the guy. You know, follow the shit. I post everything publicly. Why can't you be that smart to fucking follow shit? You know, people get, I don't know, there's idiots out there, but you know, you got to deal with it. It comes with the territory. I mean, I lose patience with people. I know this guy for years. He's pissed me off because he's stupid. But anyway, that's the way it goes.
That's good.
Yeah. But, you know, it's the way it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, learn to use social media, learn to use the internet, and get smart. If you're going to be on here, stop being stupid. That's all I have to say. Life goes on. But you know what? You're going to hear me speak my mind more and more because I'm tired of your retarded shit, you know. So, anyway, I can get into other things if we talk about retarded shit. I mean, especially here in the state of Virginia and our fucking retarded governor. But anyway, life goes on. So, but thank you guys very much. Keep it squashy. Until next time, we're going to close out.